Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People Stories. Today we have a very special episode for you, a compilation of some of the best entitled people stories we've read over the past year. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a few hours of the most entitled people you've ever heard of. And by the way, Karen assured me that for every thumbs up this video gets, she won't try to get anyone fired for an entire week. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen is a non-tipper, so I deliver her pizza last. I was the only driver working due to the restaurant being short-staffed. This one lady ordered, and then 2 minutes later, 2 more orders came in, so I had to take a triple. The first time I delivered to her, she shouted at me to just leave the pizza on the porch. The second time, I just left it there. She didn't pre-tip, so there was no chance for me to get a tip when I just left. The other 2 orders had pre-tips of $18 and $6 each. The $18 tip was for like 7 pizzas and wings. They were all in an opposite direction, northeast and south. So I took the big tippers, then the medium tippers, then hers. By the time I got there, it had been 70 minutes since she ordered, and as I rolled up, she came out of the house to shout at me for being late. She asked, "Why the heck did it take so long?" So I straight up told her that I had 3 orders spread out and that since she didn't tip, I took hers last. This set her off. She shouted about how I didn't know she wasn't going to tip me and that I had made assumptions about her. So she called up the store and told my manager that I'm the one in the wrong here. She lied and said that I yelled at her and she demanded a new fresh pizza. I was the only guy working and we had 2 other orders I needed to take. So I told the manager that, I quote, "I'm never gonna deliver to that lying jerk again." My manager was cool with it. He knows about the customer complaints, I guess. So he told her that she'd get a refund, but that we couldn't send another order out today. She complained to corporate, and apparently the district manager called my in-store manager, who talked down the DM and said something like, "We can't afford to lose staff right now." Am I the jerk for taking deliveries out of order to favor tippers over her? Or for refusing delivery after she yelled and lied about me yelling at her? Well, who do you think is the jerk? The delivery driver or Karen? Please let us know. You reap what you sow, Karen. Maybe leave a tip next time. Update. My entitled mom wants to buy my eggs in exchange for a PS5. My mother had texted me this morning asking how I felt about egg donations again. She doesn't seem mad like last time, so I think she's calmed down. I'm sorry if this doesn't seem realistic. I'm copying and pasting exactly from my messages. Me. Good morning, Mom. Did you ask me to text you when I woke up, or was that a part of my dream last night? I have very vivid dreams when I'm half awake. Entitled Mom, now demoted to just Mother. I wanted you to text me. Me. Oh, okay, so it wasn't a dream. What did you want to text about? Mom. No, just if you don't mind helping me clean my bathroom a little bit today. Me. Oh, I don't mind. Mom. You know, I've been feeling down and don't feel like doing anything today. Me. I know, Mom. I know my message makes it sound like I don't care, but my mom in the past loved to call wolf. She used to act all sad and depressed to make me feel bad about it and even once admitted to it. Mom. You still think giving me some of your eggs is weird? Me. Uncomfortable again. Very, Mom. I'm sorry. Kay. Me. Also, the procedure is like really painful, I've heard. Mother. No, it's not. Me. What do you mean? Mother. I don't think it's painful, but I understand. Me. Have you even heard how they do it? How they get the eggs out? Mother. Yes, small little incisions where they go in there and get them out. Me. They have to like give you so many shots that in some cases you have to do it yourself. Then, after so many ultrasound tests, they check how many there are. Mother. Yes, you're right. Me. Plus, I checked online, and it can really affect the way I have kids. It's very dangerous, Mom. I don't want to be selfish when I say that. Even if I don't know if I want kids yet, I don't want to lower my chances of getting them because there are risks. Mother, probably now realizing that it's wrong of her to ask me. I know, that's what I'm scared about. I would never want to affect you for me to be selfish. Me. I'm scared about it too. There are so many risks, especially for my age, as I could be too young for it. That's why the age minimum is at least 19 to 21. Some places require you to even have a kid first. Mother. I'm just saying, babe, I won't ask you, babe, because like you said, it's not easy, and I'm scared that it would affect you. Then why would you ask me in the first place? Me. I'm sorry though. I said I want to help you in any way I can, but I'm just not sure with what else. Mother. That's okay, babe. Maybe I need to go to therapy or counseling or something. Me. Yeah, Mom. I think that would be best. The conversation after that got off topic to what I should clean after I clean her bathrooms. So I think she's not going to ask me again because the topic of me having my own kids came up. If she can't get a baby herself, I plan on giving her a grandchild a bit earlier. I say about 4 to 6 years from now. I'd be 19 to 21, the same age she was when she had me. I also learned from her that if I want more kids, don't get an IUD. Those mess you up really bad apparently. And get the kids while you're still young enough. What would you do if your mom asked you to donate your eggs to her? Would you or not? Please let us know. I kept waiting for Mom to Karen out, but she never did. Some of my faith in humanity has been reinstated. Don't want to give me my last paycheck? Make that a double. This happened to me in spring of 2017. In 2016, I was unhappy at my current position with not very many hours and too much drama. I started shopping around for a new job. Got a few offers, nothing that I'd take, as the one I had allowed me to have weekends off so that I could work my second job. I eventually landed an interview with a brand new construction company. So I sat down, and who walks out? An acquaintance I work with on the weekends. We start chatting about this and that. It's a ski resort, so it was mostly about skiing, which tends to be very enthusiastic. So needless to say, I'm offered the job on the spot, as I have a real work reference right there. I took the job as it was exactly what I was looking for, with a work vehicle as a perk, an expense account. Turns out that was me just spending my own money and getting reimbursed. One of many shady practices and red flags. Edit. This was supposed to be a company credit card, not a reimbursement account. Being American, I needed some health care. I ended up having to borrow money for a medical procedure. At the time, not realizing he offered this money on purpose so I couldn't leave. Or I could leave and actually owe him money, which I would have owed him a lot, so I'm stuck. About a year goes by, and I see one tradesman after another get hired on, then fired. It was a repeating pattern, so I knew my time was limited if I paid him back. I also knew I'd have a tough time getting paid, even if the amount earned was more than what I owed. So I began looking for another job. Found one easily enough. More perks, a way better reputable company. I knew I had time, so I planned my exit with only 3 days worked on the pay period. So when I received my direct deposit, I had only worked and was owed for 3 days. I could easily live with losing that money. So I go to the secretary and pay off my draw, get a receipt, and my balance is 0. Double check with the boss that we are square. Yes, he texts back, "Thank you for paying me back early. Thanks for the evidence." Boom, it all goes down in a crap show. I returned everything. Owner threatens to call the cops. Says I owe him way more than I did. Claims I broke everything in my vehicle. One of the beautiful things about a boss that is never on site is most everything is done by email or text. I send him screenshots of everything, including a picture of my 0 balance owed. Text back, I'll get my last check in the mail. Thanks for more evidence. 2 months go by. I called twice after a few weeks. Got hung up on. Placed on hold, then hung up on. Oh, you want to hang up on me, huh? Let's see how the Department of Labor feels about it. File a wage claim with the Department of Labor. Lady straight up tells me there's not much she can do because all the boss has to do is dispute it. And then it will go to a hearing and be dragged out for possibly years over a few $100s. Email her everything. She compliments me on my thorough documentation and says I might have a case. She then tries to contact my former employer, gets hung up on, gets placed on hold. Then she got yelled at by the boss's girlfriend, who happened to be there filling in for the boss when he was in Mexico. There is no way we owe that guy money. He was a real piece of work, and he owes us money, and I want to speak to your supervisor. No hearing was needed. OP, here is your check. Please come by the Department of Labor to pick it up. I go to pick up my check. She then hands me a form and says that if I'm satisfied, check that box, but I'd like a more thorough investigation if one is warranted. And she strongly suggested that I check that box, so I did. 1 week later, I received another identical paycheck, which I had to go pick up. In the meantime, my friend who worked in the office started documenting everything from her side and had a similar experience when she quit. What a shocker. Am I the jerk for refusing to pay my half of our canceled wedding? My ex-fiance and I came from very different cultural backgrounds. Our families live on entirely different continents. I explicitly told him before we even got engaged that I always wanted a small, low-key wedding. I know that his cultures have huge, lavish weddings, and he told me that this is what he wants. So when we got engaged, we had a long conversation, which resulted in the compromise that we would have a big wedding in his home country, but drop some of the other aspects of his culture that I wasn't so comfortable with, or did not mesh well with my own culture. Regarding living situation and raising kids. For future kids, we did not have any currently. This was not a huge amount of customs. In fact, we just arranged to drop one and alter two, so they streamlined better with my own culture. We were both as happy as possible with this outcome. We began making booking, reservations, and paying deposits for our wedding. This was all out of his bank account. This is because we did not have citizenship in each other's countries, so it was far less complicated for everything to be paid from an account of the same country. The intention was that after we married, it would be much easier to get citizenship, and once citizenship was approved, we would merge our finances, and at this point it would not matter who had paid for the wedding, since all of our money would be together. 3 weeks before we were married, his mother and aunts got wind of one of the customs we had arranged to alter and lost it. Through conversations, they then found out about the other two, and eventually they threatened to disown him for being a bad son. They said I was cutting him off from his family, and that if that was what he wanted, they would make it easier for him. He begged me to change my mind, but I was firm, saying that this is what we decided together. I wasn't going to drop our agreement because his family didn't like it, when there are plenty of aspects my own family are uncomfortable with. Relationships are about compromise and communication, and ultimately, the first priority are the two people in the relationship, not their family. He told me if I wouldn't budge, then the wedding was off. I told him I had made my compromise. I still wanted to marry him under our original conditions, when we had spent a long time negotiating and originally felt were fair. He said he had changed his mind and did not want to marry me. After a few weeks, he contacted me, asking me to pay him back for half the money he was unable to get back from the deposits we paid. Since it was so close to the planned date that we canceled, it was not a small amount of money. However, since he was the one who called off the wedding, and even at this point, I would still marry him if he were to honor our original agreement, I don't think I'm obliged to pay. I told him this, and he is very unhappy, since now he believes it's my fault that he canceled for being unwilling to be flexible. Am I the jerk for refusing to pay half of our canceled wedding? Edit. It's come up a few times that if I were the one canceling the wedding, would I expect him to pay half the cost? I have replied to a few comments, but it's coming up enough that I figured I'd add something to the post. If I had been the one canceling without his approval, I would have expected to pay the cost alone. If it had been a mutual decision, I would have expected to share the cost. In the context of our relationship, it makes sense for him to take the hit for this. There have been other, albeit less significant, cancellations of events that have been covered by the person who canceled. For example, I was unable to make our planned engagement shoot and paid the cost for this. He was, before lockdown, unable to attend a prepaid dinner event, for which he covered the cost. We've always had a very balanced and understanding financial relationship. Edit 2. I'll copy and paste an earlier comment regarding the traditions my ex-fiancé compromised on. The traditions were regarding my role in the home as a wife and a mother, multi-generational households, and methods of raising kids and the role of a kid in the household. I don't feel comfortable providing more information than that because I don't wish to give any more evidence towards our nationalities. Also, as a few of you have guessed, English is not my first language. I tried to hide it, but I guess I still have improvements to make. All this is to say that I apologize for any mistakes in my posts or comments. Well, what do you think? Should OP have to pay half of the wedding cancellation costs or not? Please let us know.
No, and congrats, you dodged a bullet. Marry this boy and you'll spend the rest of your life bending to the will of your entitled in-laws.
Am I the jerk for telling my partner that my stepson spends too much time at our house and his mother needs to make more of an effort? Okay, so I've been dating this guy now for nearly 8 months. We've been living together for 2. Everything was going great. We're like best friends and have so much in common. His 4-year-old son is now proving to be a bit of a strain on our relationship, and I feel like I can't take him anywhere. His son throws tantrums, slams doors when he doesn't get what he wants, smashing the glass on my sister's door. When we buy him things, he says, "I don't want that," or "I don't like it." When we take him to a store, he picks up everything he sees and throws tantrums when he doesn't get them, spits his food out when we cook for him, tells us he doesn't like us, makes fun of my 7-year-old niece and makes her cry when he says things to her, as well as throwing her things off of our balcony, etc. He is a nightmare. Let me just add that his dad always has to buy him new toys every time he takes him out, which I told him he shouldn't. His mother is now treating us like a daycare. She had him for 1 day last week, and we're having him next week while she goes on holiday with her new boyfriend and goes out with her friends. My partner is now currently unemployed, and I'm the main breadwinner and struggling to support all 3 of us due to having to buy extra food and more gas and electric usage. I'm also woken up at 7 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday because my stepson wants the iPad charging or more games downloading when weekends are supposed to be my time after working all day Monday through Friday. I don't finish until 8 p.m. I told my partner this has to stop, and my place cannot be treated like a daycare. He needs to either A, take him out on weekends, or B, rotate it so that we only have him every other weekend. I feel like my life has been taken over as well as my apartment, as his son has his own bedroom and my things have been taken out of drawers and placed into plastic bags, which I'm now living out of. My partner is struggling being away from his son, and I feel horrible for giving him an ultimatum. But I feel like I need to look after myself too, as I never did this in my last relationship. I suffer from depression and anxiety, and I feel this whole situation is making things worse. Am I the jerk? Edit. I'm not trying to stop my partner from seeing his son. I am merely implying that the kid needs routine and equal time with both mom and dad on rotating days, in which my partner also agrees. I know they come as a package, and I'm willing to take this on, but neither parent is financially supporting this kid. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk in this case or not? Please let us know.
Oh, she's just not a good fit for this relationship. She'll be much better off if she finds a man who doesn't have kids.
Karen refused to accept that I was no longer with my previous company. At my first job, which was an online directory and blog, we had a client who was entitled to a free limited-time premium listing. This included a short write-up about her business on our website, which would then be hidden/unpublished after her premium list had expired, if she decided to not avail of the paid premium package. Basically, she was on a free trial. I was on the editorial team and first encountered her when I had to interview her for the write-up. My colleagues had advised me to be careful because she was rather irritable and rude, but I spoke to her in English. English is not the primary language in my country, and she was very nice to me. I wrote the article and everything was fine until her free premium listing expired. The account manager assigned to her updated her weekly on the status of her account and reminded her that the premium listing would soon expire. She yelled at my colleagues on the phone, saying that a business as large and successful as hers, with celebrity clientele, should automatically have a premium account, whether she paid for it or not. Then she refused to speak to anyone except the general manager or me, an editorial assistant. As our GM was in a meeting outside at the time, the sales manager, account manager, and I took the call over speakerphone in a conference room. As soon as they informed her that I was now on the call, her tone changed and she was suddenly polite. She asked if we could keep the write-up that I worked so hard on published on the site, even if she would no longer be on the premium package. She then went on to say that surely someone with my educational background and who went to the same uni as she did would understand. I think this came up while we were making small talk during an event. I told her that it wasn't up to me to make the call as I was an editorial assistant, but that we would be happy to keep the write-up published for another month if she decided to purchase the premium package for the next month. Taking my cue from the sales manager, who was writing down some responses to help sell her the package, I then said something like, a successful entrepreneur like herself would understand that we needed to provide these premium services from that point for those with paid subscriptions. Finally, she agreed and paid for the next month to keep her account's premium status. I resigned shortly after that, for unrelated reasons. 2 to 3 months later, I received a call from this client. Side note, we were not issued company phones at my first job, so I used my personal number to contact clients for phone interviews, and the company would just reimburse. I was surprised because I contacted all the clients I had worked with before I left to inform them about who would be handling their editorial needs upon my departure. She was complaining that her write-up had been taken down and that I had to do something about it. I informed her that I was no longer affiliated with the company, but that I would pass her concern along to my former colleagues. The call ended and I contacted my former colleague to let her know about the client's concern. Guess what? The client had not paid for the premium package in the last 2 months. Several months go by, and one Sunday, I am awakened at 4 a.m. by my phone ringing. It's her again, and this time, she isn't at all polite. She was yelling at me, saying I didn't republish her article and that her listing had gone back to basic, free status. She said that the company should be grateful to have her listed because she had celebrity clientele and that she was a celebrity in the industry in her own right. She was infamous, not famous. I was done with her by now, so I repeated that I didn't work there anymore, and if she wanted a premium account, she should pay for it like everyone else. Then I said that if she contacted me again, I would sue her for harassment, and I hung up. It was an empty threat, but she never contacted me again. Years later, I found out that she had been blacklisted because she never paid for a year's worth of the premium listing. Karen tells me to stop the ride, so I did. The day I made a Karen cry. I work at an amusement park, and we have this ride called the Big Whale. This ride is 100% controlled by the operator. A couple of weeks ago, this woman and her friend came up to my ride, making fun of one of the kids that was on the ride. She was saying so many mean things about how I looked. Without even looking at her, I told her to stop, and this is how it went. Me: "You're literally talking about a 7-year-old. You need to stop, or you will not be allowed on the ride." Karen:
"But it's true. Look at them."
Me: "Don't disrespect our other guests, please. It's not okay." Karen's friend: "Stop, Karen, before you get us in trouble again." Karen:
"Whatever."
When the ride was finished, I start letting the next group of people on. I say, "Do not pull down on the bars. Pick any seat you'd like," to everyone as they walk in, since pulling on the bars can break the seats over time. I let a group of boys in before Karen's group, and they sat at the end seats. Karen marches over to the kids, yelling at them to get out of her seat and that she paid to sit at the end. Me: "Miss, please stop yelling at the kids, or you will be removed from the ride with no refund on your ticket." Karen:
"Don't tell me."
Karen's friend: "Stop it, Karen. Just sit in the middle." She complained the whole time, walking to the middle seats and then pulled down the bar. I was thinking it was time to get a manager over, but I didn't want to bother them with her. Once I got everyone seated, I closed all the seat bars. When I was checking the seats, Karen's one was on the loose side, so I pushed it in a little to make it tighter. Karen:
"You're trying to hurt me. First you left my seat open, now you're making it so I can't breathe."
I ignore her and keep checking seats. When I finally start the ride, I slowly rock it, and Karen is screaming to take her off. So I made the ride go faster, doing full circles now. Halfway during the ride, Karen screams,
"Stop the ride, you idiot!"
She wants me to stop it? Fine with me. I park the ride when it's at the top, like I do when closing, but keeping the ride on. The 6 others on the ride weren't scared that the ride had stopped. Karen started screaming, crying, and begging to be let down. The parents watching knew what Karen had said to their kids, and they knew what was going on and started laughing. After around 30 seconds, she's screaming for me to let her down still. So I do. On the fastest setting, I start the ride spinning full speed. I made the ride a little bit longer since all of the kids were having fun. Before I open the seats, I scream a warning. Me: "Wait for the bars to be fully open and stay above your head before getting up. Stay seated." Karen pushes it up and gets up, having the bar fall back down and hit her on her head. Her friend laughed at her, got her up, and walked her off the ride. Have you ever been on a roller coaster? If so, what was it called? Please let us know.
"I can't wait to go to Six Flags again." Dun 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 dun.
Chef refused customers' no mayo request. Chef at the restaurant I work at just hates it if anyone tries to change his almighty perfect food. I'm working lunch, and a girl and her parents come in. Girl orders the turkey sandwich with no mayo. The turkey sandwich is pretty good, and the chef roasts the turkey, then slices it thick. Of course, turkey isn't the most moist of foods, so I can understand that you would want a sauce or mayo. But this is a clear case of the customer is right. She wanted a turkey sandwich, no mayo. Just make the sandwich, right? I put in the order knowing the chef might say something about it, and sure enough, right away he calls me back to the kitchen and says he won't make it. The sandwich will be too dry, so he can't make it without mayo. I argue, but he says buzz off. I asked the manager about it, but the chef has more power than him at this restaurant, so he just shrugs and tells me there's nothing he can do about it. So I guess there's nothing else to do. I go to the table and apologize profusely, and let them know that the chef doesn't think it will be good. At this point, I'm fearing for the worst and brace myself. I then get a huge surprise because the dad goes, "Oh, darn. Some chefs are like that." He shakes his head but lets me know it's not my fault. The daughter didn't protest and just ordered something else. Thank God for anti-Karens. Aftermath. A few days later, I caught the owner and say that it's ridiculous, and he agrees, so he tells the chef to grant customers' requests. The chef got really upset. But so what? I'm hopefully not going to have to be here much longer. The owner mostly does what the chef says. The owner is also pretty stuck up, so maybe that's why they like each other so much. Edit. Not that it matters, but the chef does make the mayo. Someone pointed out that if he's such a great chef, why does his roast turkey turn out dry? It shouldn't need mayo, right? Wish I thought of this and argued that point. His response to egg allergies would have been that they have to order a dish without eggs and not get the turkey sandwich. I couldn't do mayo on the side either because he refused to alter the sandwich at all. The sandwich is sliced thick turkey, Swiss, dried cranberries, mixed greens, and mayo on bread he also makes. The cranberries kind of fall off, so I don't think it's some masterpiece, but the chef thinks all his dishes are perfect. He told all of the servers no modifications. Chips aren't that big of a deal. I was new to being a manager on duty, so I'm somewhat nervous, and on top of that, I usually work the night shift. Some of the customers we had were ones I'd never seen before. Here comes customer 1, change in hand, and 1 bag of chips. They hand me the chips, I scan them, and they freak out. Customer 1. Excuse me? Your ad says those should have been $2.50. I'm not paying $3 for 1 bag. You need to adjust the price. That's false advertising. That price is outrageous. Me. I'm sorry, ma'am. Can you show me where it says this? If it's true, I'll honor it. We go to the aisle where she claimed the ad was. The ad actually said 2 for $5. She points at the ad, grabs it off the shelf, and holds it about 5 inches from my face. I have a bit of a temper, but trying to be professional, I take the ad and explain. Me. Ma'am, this says 2 bags for $5. In order for the bag to cost $2.50, you need to buy 2. If you only buy 1, it's the regular price. That's false advertising. How was I supposed to know that? There's nothing on here that says that. I want your manager. I know she'll fix it. She always fixes stuff like this. Me. Yes, ma'am. I'll have her up here in a minute or 2. I say, calling her up to the front to tell this woman that the ad isn't wrong. A minute or 2 goes by, but my manager isn't on her way yet. I call her again, and she says she's busy with a truck. I tell the customer my manager can't get away from the truck as nice as possible, realizing my situation. Her face immediately turns from patiently happy to unyielding rage. At this point, I just want to change the price so she'll leave, but we can't change prices for an ad that isn't wrong. She's staring me down, demands a price change or my manager, and is now holding up my line of 3 people. Here's the explosion. Me. Excuse me, ma'am. There are customers waiting behind you. Would you mind stepping to the side so I can help them? I'm sure manager 1 won't be much longer. Customer. This is ridiculous. You're not even finished helping me. Hold on. She pulls out her cell phone and calls customer 2, her husband. Baby, these people aren't doing their job. I need to use the bathroom, and I need you to hold my place in line. Can you please step in here for a bit? I guess he agreed because he walked in shortly after. She leaves, I assume to get manager 1 with a bathroom break as an excuse. Customer 2 stands there for a few minutes and asks me, "So, what part of your job are you not doing?" She's been a bit of a jerk lately, and I'd like to know. I explain how she wants a price change on something that wasn't advertised correctly. It's store policy to avoid doing so, and she won't take no for an answer / demanding my manager fix it for her. Customer 2. Well, how much is she short? 45 cents, 60 cents. If it's not that much of a difference, I'll pay it. You seem like a nice boy. Must be new too, since I've never seen you here before. Me. I've been here for almost 5 months now, and I usually work the night shift. I tell him as I'm ringing up the people behind him. We've been short since someone quit, so I'm filling in during the day for now. Long story. He laughs, and then my store phone rings. Apparently, his wife is now demanding a price cut from my manager in the back. Manager called me to put her husband on the phone. I hand him the phone, turn to check a text message since my line was empty, and I heard some words that still make me laugh randomly when I think about them. Customer 2. "Woman, if you don't get your butt up here and pay this boy for these chips, I'ma beat yo A until it's a color shrimp can't see. If I gotta go back there, the boy's getting a lick too. You're grown, so act like it." I'm laughing so hard, I dropped my phone. Luckily, she came up front. My manager came with her since the truck was checked in now. The husband hands me her chips again so I can scan them and tell her the price. She's so red at this point. I'm just waiting for her to start calling me names. She looks truly defeated that we couldn't knock off $1.11, I think, for some stupid chips. She walks to their car, but the husband stays. He gave me a $20 tip. I told on my Karen coworker and got her fired. I, 30 male, have worked at my current employer for 3 years. Last year, in March of 2020, I received a promotion to project manager. In the beginning, everything went well, but in the last month, I've been getting more and more negative feedback. I did not understand what was going on or why people were becoming so negative about me. I was losing clients and several colleagues were really upset with me. I was at a loss. I started talking to my manager and my department head about following courses, getting monthly feedback to perform better. I just wanted to live up to the promotion I received. I felt like I was failing. Then a friend/colleague, 27 female, of mine came to me angry and demanded that I apologize for what I said. I was really confused and asked her why she was so upset with me. She explained she received an email where I was basically blaming her for the issues that I was dealing with. This was an email a client forwarded to her. I was at a loss and explained I never sent out an email like that and asked if she could show me. She did, and it had my name, my send address, and everything seemed like it was for me, but I never sent it. Then it clicked to me. My assistant, 39 female, has access to my email and has the ability to send as me. She's also the only one that has these rights. I was flabbergasted, and so much started to make sense. She was next in line for my job and did not receive the promotion. I did. Checked all her sent emails on her PC while she was out for lunch and saw dozens of emails sent as if it was for me. An email, still open on her screen, showed my email address and a written message to clients with misinformation, passive aggressiveness, and straight-up lies. These were sent out under my name. I made screenshots and sent them to myself, then went to my manager and the head of the department. They were angry. She was fired that same day. I was relieved and all of my colleagues were informed. I thought I was completely in the right here, but some people at work are complaining that I violated the company policy for snooping on her PC and violating her privacy. My boss and direct colleagues have my back, but the people that knew her, she has worked there since 2011 and I've only been there since 2018, say that I went too far. Apparently, she's a single mother with 2 kids and needed this job. I also need this job, and she was more than willing to sacrifice me for her benefit. I don't see how I could be in the wrong for defending myself. Maybe I'm just too close to the situation to see it. Did I go too far by going on her PC? Update. They just let me know that they are holding a meeting to clarify what exactly happened. They were catching on to people that weren't happy about her being fired and they want to quell any issues before they start taking root. I'll update again once the meeting is over. It's in 1 hour and 20 minutes from now. Update 2. Meeting took about 1.5 hours, and after that, I was in and out of talks with colleagues and other people. It was properly explained what she was doing and has done to me and the company. The attitude towards me noticeably changed in a positive direction, with a lot of people apologizing to me and explaining they've known her for years, were friends, and could not imagine her actually doing something like this. Honestly, I'm happy it ended up this way. HR and my boss really had my back here and preemptively handled to avoid any lingering negativity. Nothing but praise for them. I requested some time off, which was approved, and I'll be home for a week starting next week. Per my request/advice, they are also going to revise, or at least look at, the company policy regarding access to other people's emails and the other security issues I've noticed. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Karen? Please let us know.
I'm glad they fired Karen, and I think they should fire everyone else who agreed with her. You really shouldn't have people that stupid working for you.
Jealous entitled neighbor tries to steal my package. This happened very recently, just a few hours ago, and I'm absolutely fuming in anger, so bear with me. Cast. We've got me, We've got entitled neighbor. We've got neighbor's kid, who's a good kid. And we've got the Amazon delivery dude. Context. My family and I are immigrants. My mom and siblings don't look the part, but my dad does heavily, and he's met this lady before, and we've had worse relationship conversations with her. A story for another time. On with the story. My family are tech savvy. We like to keep up with the trends and recently discovered smart home products. My parents were ecstatic. We had been looking into it and ordered the required products off Amazon. There were a lot of packages, around 15 to 20 different ones. The products all arrived at different times during the week, and the entitled neighbor and her kid just happened to notice the packages piling up outside on the daily. On the 5th day of the week, when we expected the last batch of packages, around 3 that day, I went out to collect them when I saw her walking her dog. She commented on the amount of packages that I had been receiving. It went like this.
That's a lot of packages you've been getting.
Me. Yeah, I'm aware.
Well, that's kind of fishy. What's even in those?
Me. It's none of your business, really.
Well, it's really strange a young man like you can even afford those. I bet you're stealing money from your parents to pay for those.
Me. Again, none of your business. I grabbed the boxes and slammed the door behind me. Fast forward to today. Delivery dude leaves packages by the door. I go out to collect them. Entitled neighbor runs to the front door and attempts to take one of them. Me. Hey, that's mine.
Not anymore, young man. You've been getting too many gifts these past few days, and you're making my kid jealous.
Me. What are you talking about? These are mine. They belong to me, and I'm keeping them. I snatch it out of her hands.
No, I'm taking all of these for my angels.
You can't possibly be able to afford this. She then proceeded to smash one of the boxes. The contents were fine.
There, take your stupid package now.
My dad walks out. What's going on?
Your kid stole my packages, and he smashed one of them too.
Dad, what are you talking about? These are our packages. We ordered these, and I saw you smashing it through the window.
Well, it's not fair that you get to have all these. My angel over there deserves something too.
Dad, I don't care. You can go buy whatever you want yourself. These are ours. Nice kid. Mom, let's go. Let's stop bothering them. Entitled mom gives a Karen grunt.
Well, I'll report you and your spoiled brat to the police for harassment.
Dad points towards the outdoor cameras as well as a video doorbell. Then we'll show them all the camera footage and let them decide. Entitled neighbor leaves in anger and defeat. Nice kid. I am so sorry. My mom is going through a lot of mental health issues, and I assure you it won't happen again. They leave. I'm still upset by her accusations of me and my dad. We came from a tough past, and we worked hard for what we have. This is not the first time she's done something like this, and I won't be forgiving nor accepting of her actions in the future. Anyways, thanks for reading. Update. To all the comments saying to report her, please know that I am working on it. However, I personally will not be pressing charges after speaking to the other neighbors. They will be pressing full charges on assorted offenses prior to this. I will edit the post with more updates soon. Update 2. After speaking to a few neighbors, we've reported it to the police again. I won't be pressing charges. However, several neighbors are. I'll keep you updated once we receive a court date. Have you ever had a package of yours that was stolen? If so, what did you do about it? Please let us know.
This is why we all need video doorbells, so we can post videos of the thieves on YouTube and watch them go viral.
Soon-to-be brother-in-law is upset we didn't invite him to our wedding. My brother-in-law, 30, male, has never liked me, 23, female. I wish I could tell you why he doesn't like me, like a legitimate reason why he doesn't even want to see me. Whenever I asked him in person, I swear he would say things like, "You watch anime in English, not Japanese. My brother wouldn't help me with my cosplay because he wanted to spend time with you." I swear, these were his exact words. I'm not lying, trust me. I wish I were lying. I always assumed this was just a bit of jealousy, but this has gone on for 7 years and I'm starting to think it's really toxic. For some context, soon-to-be brother-in-law lives with his parents and has never gotten a real job before. He claims he's an artist and that he draws manga, which is respectable, but he doesn't earn money doing this. He tells everyone around him that I'm a problem in his family, that I stole money and action figures from him. I've never done that. It's been proven multiple times that he lied about me stealing his things and that he's lied about my friends stealing money from his wallet. Coincidentally, a friend of fiancé who came over for lunch at his parents' house. He then claimed I started a rivalry between us. He said I started treating him badly all of a sudden. I have screenshots and witnesses, my friends, family, and my fiancé's friends, who have seen how well I treated him by doing favors and paying for some of his meals and inviting him to dinners, that I never talked badly about him until he decided to make up lies about me being a thief. He also tried to separate us a few times with lies and manipulation. One example being that he suggested my fiancé have an affair with a friend of his. He told my fiancé a few years ago that if we ever had a wedding, and that he hoped that wasn't the case, that he wouldn't attend. And that, in case he did, he would go for the food. He repeated this like 4 times during our relationship. Here's where I might be the jerk. When my significant other and I decided to get married a few months ago, we automatically assumed he wouldn't want to join us. And to be honest, I wouldn't be comfortable knowing that a man who has tried to break us up multiple times has accused me of stealing and has treated me horribly as assisting our wedding. My significant other agreed, and that was our decision. Yeah, my significant other felt bad, of course, since it's his brother. But his brother let him know beforehand that he wanted nothing to do with me and didn't consider me family. So, when the time came to send out invites, my soon-to-be mother-in-law and father-in-law received their invitation through text. My soon-to-be brother-in-law goes crazy when he didn't receive his text. He called my significant other multiple times to ask him why he wasn't invited. Brother-in-law:
Why am I not invited?
Significant other: You said you didn't want to go.
I never said that.
Fiancé: You don't even like OP. You wanted us to break up for years.
So? Mom and Dad are going. You forgot she's stolen from me as well. It's the least she could do.
Yes, he brought up the stealing thing again, which was proven to be false. My significant other and I believe that he didn't even have that money in the first place. Fiancé: You told me you only wanted to be there for food, not for us.
And?
It's our wedding. We want people to support us, and you don't even like her.
I'm sure that jerk made you not invite me.
My fiancé is a sweet man. I've never seen him angry at his brother, even after his brother has done horrible things to him. He was done with his behavior. It was your own actions that made us not invite you, not her. My brother-in-law then hung up. My soon-to-be mother-in-law then called me the next day to ask me why he was not invited. I explained to her the situation. She does not agree with brother-in-law's actions and defends me. How he treated me, how he took advantage of my kindness, how he accused me of doing horrible things. She said that she understood, but that brother-in-law was my fiancé's brother, and that, like it or not, he was going to be part of the family. I'm honestly really torn. On one hand, I have the right to decide who comes to our wedding. On the other hand, soon-to-be brother-in-law is my fiancé's brother and still part of the family. I think my fiancé and I may have overreacted by not inviting him, or at least giving him a chance to change his mind. Edit: I would like to clarify a few things people have pointed out. 1. My future brother-in-law is not disabled. He was taken to a doctor when he was in his teens. He was examined for about a year while doing weekly visits. The doctor did not diagnose him with anything. However, it's worth mentioning that the doctor suspected he could be suffering from depression, but this was never confirmed. 2. Does your mother-in-law support you? My future brother-in-law says he doesn't consider his mother to be his mother because, according to him, she did him over. My future mother-in-law is a sweet person who does everything she can to make him happy. She paid for everything that he wanted. I don't know what she could have possibly done to have made him feel this way about her. I know she's been telling him to get a job or at least study. He's made her cry multiple times. Well, what do you think? Should OP invite future brother-in-law to their wedding or not? Please let us know.
Absolutely not. I would cut all contact with that guy. There's no reason to have people like him in your life, whether they're part of the family or not.
Am I the jerk for not eating my sister's eggs? I'm 28, female, and my older sister, who's 35, Anita, has been keeping chickens for about 4 years now. Over time, it has slowly become her entire life. For example, her husband, Frank, supports their family, but she has also maintained a part-time job. 2 years ago, she quit to stay home full-time because her babies, the chickens, needed her. She didn't even do this when her actual kids, who are 15, 13, and 12, were small. She misses social events, sports games, etc. if the timing doesn't work out with her chicken schedule. Anita will also only cook with the eggs from her chickens. She insists on hosting all family events. At each one, there's a little ritual she does where she puts out 2 versions of some kind of egg dish, deviled eggs, egg salad, quiche, etc. One made with store-bought eggs and one made with her chicken's eggs, and demands that everyone eats both and casts a vote for which is better to demonstrate how much better her eggs are. Frank does not participate because he won't eat her eggs after an incident that put him off, but everyone else is expected to. This past weekend, for the 4th, she made deviled eggs. My husband fixed me a plate of food while I was talking to my dad, which included 1 egg. The egg he grabbed happened to be from the store-bought plate. My sister quickly came over and reminded me that I needed to eat a real egg as well so I could vote. I told her no thank you, I only wanted 1 egg. I've struggled with my weight for several years and I've lost about 20 pounds in the last 9 months. I don't starve myself by any means, but I'm careful about portion control and I was only having a little of each thing so I could try the food everyone had brought. Also, I just didn't want a second egg. After repeatedly trying to make me eat a second egg, my sister finally said,
Fine, don't have one. I don't want to be blamed when you gain that weight back.
I've had a few times where I've lost it and then gained it back. As we were going to leave, my sister came to me holding a large container full of her chicken's eggs and told me to take them home so I could see how much better they were since I refused to participate in the game. I got irritated and said, "No, Anita, I don't want your eggs. I have eggs at home. We've all played along with your petty egg thing for years. I know what they taste like. Stop." She made a face and then ran upstairs to her room and began sobbing loudly enough for everyone to hear her from downstairs. Since then, I've gotten texts from my mom asking me to apologize, from my dad telling me my mom wants me to apologize, and from Anita telling me that I humiliated her in her home and that she doesn't want me around her kids because I'll turn them against her, and that it's probably my fault that Frank won't eat her eggs anymore, and then accusing me of having an affair with Frank. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her sister Anita? Please let us know.
Something about Anita doesn't seem exactly right.
Clean the quick mixer? You got it, boss. Years ago, I worked for a high-end contracting company. It was a small business, about 10 people total, including the 3 owners. 2 were brothers and were in charge of large renovations, and the 3rd was in charge of all the custom cabinetry and high-end furniture we made in the shop. He was my direct boss. I only ever interacted with the brothers occasionally, normally in the mornings and afternoon when they would come to pick up and drop off tools in the cargo van. Part of my shop duties every day included cleaning up their tools and putting them away, and I can't leave until it's done. Now, the brothers had a bad habit of never washing off the mixing stick for cement. Every day, it would come back caked in dried concrete that I'd have to spend up to an hour breaking off. I'd asked them several times to just wash it down with a hose after they used it, but it was always met with,
"Oh yeah, we'll remember next time."
After a few months of this, I was getting pretty frustrated. One extremely hot summer day, I was sitting on the dock of the shop waiting for them. I was caked in sweat and sawdust from making cabinets all day and was in a bad mood. They pull up and we start unloading. Lo and behold, they hadn't cleaned the stick again. The base of it was practically a complete ball. Me: "Seriously? What the heck?" Brother 1:
"Oh yeah, sorry."
Me: "How hard is it to wash it off? I've asked you for months." Brother 2:
It's your job to clean it. Just clean it.
Cue the malicious compliance. I lifted it up, brought my arm back, and swung it as hard as I could at the side door of the cargo van. The sound of denting metal was huge. Most of the concrete blasted off of it. I handed the stick to the flabbergasted brother and said, "There, I cleaned it," before walking back into the shop. Both brothers wanted to fire me, but couldn't. The 3rd guy was my boss and refused. He told me a month later that every time he saw the dent, he laughed. They always brought it back clean afterwards. Edit. Thanks so much for the awards. I just wanted to share a funny story to everyone that I remembered while cleaning my own mixing stick this morning. I've been trying to personally write everyone that awarded me. To those asking why I didn't just bang it all the time, it's a $15 tool. If I banged it clean each day, it would be so bent that it would need to be replaced each week. That gets expensive. To those asking why I didn't have to pay for damage to the van, It was a paid-off, brutalized van already. My hourly rate was more than the cost of repair for the several months I cleaned it. Since it was already dented, another one didn't matter in the grand scheme. Am I the jerk for taking the garden with me when I moved? I, 30 female, moved to a rented flat a few years ago. Me on the top floor and below me a guy, J, 50. Both places are small, one bedroom, but there's a shared garden which is big but not cared for at all, super overgrown. I love gardening. I got permission from my landlord and Jay to get it looking decent so Jay and I could enjoy it. He said he's a busy guy and not interested nor uses it, so everyone was happy. I spent weeks getting it really lovely and spent the best part of 1,000 pounds on it, and that was on a budget too. Lots of plants, a veggie patch, a few small trees. The veg patch would always yield a great amount, so I was happy to share with Jay. He would buy me a case of beer once in a while as his way of payment. He even started inviting his friends over for barbecues, etc., and vice versa. We always extended the invite to each other. It was flexible and easy. Jay was always a bit flirty with me, especially after a few, but it always felt harmless. I would even hang sometimes with his friends, all male, for a beer in the garden, but still never felt funny and was happy to banter. The problem started when I got a girlfriend, S, 36. Jay didn't seem to vibe with her from the start. Obviously, the more serious S and I got, the more she would stay over. This really seemed to bug Jay, but she was always considerate. She wouldn't use our parking spaces, etc. I put it down to jealousy, but neither of us really cared, as we got more serious and we decided it was time to move in together. The final straw came when S was at my place alone and needed some veggies for a meal she was making. She went to go help herself. Jay was already in the garden, but when he saw her picking from the vegetables, he had a go at accusing her of stealing and disrespecting me and him as it was our, tenants only, garden. Anyway, when S left for work the next day, she sent me a pic of her car with a key scratch that read a mean word on the side. Turns out Jay is a total jerk. He denied it and we didn't have proof. We decided to escalate the move immediately. The craziness started when I decided to move my entire garden when Jay was at work to S's place. Luckily, she has a big enough space to get everything in and a lot of plants I purposely planted so that they could be movable. I even took the vegetable patch and every darn bean. Yes, it looked a bit scrappy afterwards, but was still better than when I first arrived. I even put down grass seed so the patchy bits would go completely back to normal. It'll grow back to a totally plain, weedless lawn. My phone has erupted. Jay has called me every name under the sun and has said I have ruined his property. The landlord is also upset and has said I've ruined its value and is threatening not to return my deposit and sue. I sent before and after pics of the garden to show I had only taken my property with me, and I've kept every receipt too to prove what I spent. They're threatening me, accusing me of stealing. I'm looking into my own legal action to get my deposit back. They've not got a leg to stand on. Am I the jerk for taking my garden with me? Edit. I did message landlord prior to moving to ask if he wanted to buy the garden, but I didn't think he understood what I meant, and I didn't press it further. Also, after I took it, I did message landlord to say again he could buy it back from me at the cost of my purchase, but I would not replant it. Again, I don't think he understood. I believe Jay has told him that he bought half of the garden because he would buy me a case of beer every so often, which somehow justifies him slowly buying half off me. Suddenly, the vegetables he consumed have been forgotten. Am I the jerk for not trying to actively build a better relationship with my stepson? Last year, I, 38 male, married my wife, 40 female, after about 3 years of dating. She has 2 kids, 17 male and 15 male from her previous relationship. And going in where we were talking about tying the knot, I made it abundantly clear that I would love to have a relationship with her sons, but I'm not okay forcing anything and would just hope that the boys would accept me eventually. At first, my wife was on board with this. The reason I don't want to force the relationship is that 1, I feel that good relationships are built naturally, and 2, I was the kid, and both my mom and dad and step-parents, mom's husband and dad's husband, tried to force me to treat them as parents, and that just made everything implode when I didn't. And to this day, I do not talk to my parents and step-parents. Been about 10 years now. Well, anyways, I never tried to force anything. While my wife and I were engaged, I sat down with the boys and said, I won't try to force anything, and I'm not trying to replace your dad. He was a good guy, and I miss him too. He was a colleague at work, but unfortunately passed about 5 years back. I had met my wife in a group counseling. I was there since my fiance had passed, and we had found solace in having each other in our lives, and life's just been weird like that. Didn't even know she was my colleagues until she showed me a picture. Her sons are aware of the entire situation. But I'll be available if you do want to have more than just a cordial relationship. They agreed to this. 15 has been more open to us having a relationship, while 17 keeps it completely cordial, i.e., we're civil towards each other and not at each other's necks. I'd still ask if he wanted to join 15 and me for whatever we were doing, but no hard feelings if not. But my wife has become increasingly more annoyed that 17 doesn't want to. The other day, my wife sat next to me and asked me to actively try to build a better relationship with 17 because it hit him especially hard when his dad passed. I said I'll ask him what he wants to do. It's his life, and I'm fine with the way things are now. She said that he's just a kid, and he doesn't know what he wants, and that I should take him fishing, just the two of us, so that we can have a more family relationship. I, again, said I'll talk to him and ask if he wants to, but I'm not going to force it. She got angry at me and said that, if you don't try, nothing will happen. I know my kids. He's secretly hurting seeing you and 15 having a good relationship. I asked if he told her that, and she said no, but still insisted I try more. It's not like I don't try. I still invite him to go ride bikes or whatever, even when 15 is busy, just the two of us. But I just take his no as a no and drop it. I think he's content with how things are right now. I just want some outside perspective. Am I the jerk? Well, who do you agree with? OP or his wife? Please let us know.
Oh wow, this is a tough one. I can't wait to read the comments we get on it.
Entitled Mom drops her spawn off at a daycare he's not even registered at. Backstory. From about 2018 to 2019, I worked at an after-school program with a church that also functioned as a private school. I worked mostly with the after-school kids ranging in ages from 5 to 12. I mostly worked with the older kids who were about 10 to 14. This school also had a daycare/nursery. I hardly interacted with the daycare, but sometimes I would have to sub for a teacher who was running late or couldn't come in. This story was one of those rare times I had to sub for a teacher in the daycare and just a combination of everything going wrong. I also guess this would be an r/I don't work here ladies story too. When working at the after-school program, it was a part-time gig since I was only there from about 1 in the afternoon until the last closing time, which was 6. It was nice since I could sleep in and do my schoolwork. It was a great setup, and 90% of the kids and parents were great. Hardly any of them were entitled, and not gonna lie, I miss my kids a lot. But very rarely, I would get called into work to sub for a teacher in the daycare. Now, a quick note here is that the daycare was run by the church. The after-school program was run by the school. They were separate entities, but sometimes the daycare would call teachers from the after-school to sub for the daycare sometimes. It was never a problem since the daycare workers were really nice, showed us how to handle toddlers and babies. Anyway, I said yeah, I would watch this class of 4-year-olds while their teacher was at a doctor's appointment. No biggie, it shouldn't be more than an hour. Like at most daycares and my after-school program, you have to register your kid if you want them to attend daycare or the after-school program, and that way their name can be added to the roll. Also, every time you come to pick up or drop off your kid, you have to sign them in and out. The same applies to visitors. So I go in, sign in the sub list, go to the classroom, and do a quick roll call. I have a total of 8 kids. Cool beans. 2 hours go by. Their teacher is still a no-show, and I'm doing my best teaching their Bible lesson. 9:30, the kids are in their stations playing, taking a break from their reading lesson. The door opens, and the devil and her spawn come in. Like I said earlier, I have no clue who these kids are, but I do have my role. The devil, Karen, walks in, ushers in Spawn. Karen comes in after her son before I even had a chance to speak to him and ask his name. Karen turns to me and says,
Are you the teacher?
Me. No, I'm Miss Mary. I'm just subbing for Miss Lily, the regular teacher.
Fine. When is she going to be back?
Me. Hopefully in a little while. I don't normally work here. I work in the after-school program. I was wondering, is your son new? I don't see his name on the roll. Karen.
Oh yes, we registered yesterday.
Me, a little wary. Oh, okay. I'm sure he'll get added to the roll in the coming week. Karen.
Okay, we'll be back around 8 to pick him up.
I stop as she leaves for the door. Me. Ma'am, you can't leave your son here after 6. It's a state law. 80% sure this is true. Karen.
Okay, fine.
And Karen drew out fine, like I just asked her to take out the garbage. As she walks out the door, Spawn is playing with the kids and getting along just fine. But part of me was just wary, like something didn't settle right with me. I grabbed the walkie-talkie and radioed the supervisor, asking if Miss Lily's class was expecting a new kid. She said no. Thankfully, I had messaged her just as Karen was walking out the door. The supervisor said to bring Spawn to the office. He was sad, but I explained we had to see Mama. I took him to the office after asking a teacher to step in while I was gone. When we got about halfway down the hall, I hear,
What do you mean my son can't be here?
Supervisor, your son is not registered with our daycare. We cannot accept him.
But this is a daycare.
I walk in at this point with Spawn in hand, and she points to me.
Well, she let my son in the room.
Supervisor, I know, but she is a sub, and she has to go by the roll. Your son was not on the roll, nor is he enrolled here. I'm sorry, Miss Karen, but you and your son have to leave. Spawn is upset at this point because he was getting along with some of the kids, but Karen being Karen had just started back up.
This is a daycare. You have a no discrimination policy. You have to accept my son.
Supervisor, ma'am, you are right. We have a no discrimination policy, but you have to schedule a tour and an interview if you want to enroll your kid here. This does not mean it's a walk-in daycare. Please just leave. I'm just standing there with Spawn holding my hand. She snatches Spawn from my hand and swears,
This will not be the last time you hear from me.
The supervisor tells me to go back to the classroom and not to worry, that I made a good call about the mom. The rest of the day goes by smoothly. I go to my real job without a worry. The next day, the supervisor emailed me with an update about Karen, pretty much saying, Hey Mary, just wanted to let you know that you did a good job yesterday handling that lady. And yes, she did call the director of the daycare trying to get us in trouble for discriminating against her because guess what? She's Italian. I mean, of all things, but I digress. The director said don't worry about anything and that you are more than welcome to sub here more often. The kids love you. Have a good rest of your day. I don't officially know what happened to Karen, but I do know from the email the director told her to shove off.
Bully me into selling you my car? You picked the wrong mama bear.
So, about 8 years ago, I'm selling a used car. Engine light was on, the AC needed recharging, and the fuel pump or something was out. So I go to my local, trusted sales site. Ad goes up with a few pictures and the words, I work weird hours, so I may not be able to accept a phone call. Please only text me. Yay to working swings at midnights, right? 'Twas actually college classes, but same thing for me. So a few days in, I get a pretty standard text. Hi, I'm Matt. Is your car still for sale? Matt isn't his real name, but you get the idea. So text back that it is. A few standard texts about price. Why is the engine light on? Who did you get the quote from? I listed an approximate price on the repairs as quoted from my trusted mechanic, and whatnot go back and forth. The next day, I get a text from him saying,
Are you gonna take all your crap out of your car before you sell it to me? Or is that my job?
Unwarranted hostility? Really? What the heck, man? He's not the only interested party, so I text him back. I'm not selling the car to you, so don't worry about it. I never said I would sell it to him. He never asked if he was the only interested party, and others were arranging test drives already. I didn't need him and his less than full price, partial commitment. And the crap he was complaining about is 3 textbooks and a bag that I keep clothes in. 4 things. This guy didn't like to take no for an answer and starts calling and texting about how my car's paint is peeling. True, but the pics and description said so. And how dare I ask so much? $1,000 for this car. I started replying for a time, telling him he wasn't going to get the car, that I had other interested buyers, so he didn't need to worry about it, etc. Then things got personal. This site gave you the option to link to Facebook, so you could post at both places at the same time, so I had. I didn't have the privacy settings turned down, as it was still early into Facebook's absolute reign, and I actually trusted them at the time. Silly me, I know. I hadn't anticipated that he would be able to find my info through the website's post, and find my name, my location, pictures of my family, etc. Surprise, he did. He starts to text me about how I should be ashamed of myself for saying no to him, a muscular dude. He included a picture in one text, and he wasn't the muscular, built man he claimed to be. He looked like a beanpole with 2 ab muscles. So, what the heck, dude? He asked me if I even knew anything about cars.
He texted that I should be lucky I was already married, or else he would come to my house. He got close, but didn't have an address, and the way my address pulls up on GPS, he never would find my apartment, thankfully. Small side info. Since I was in college at the time and needed a more flexible schedule, I worked on a school crossing guard. Every 2 weeks or so, we'd go in to sign our time cards in order to get paid. This crossing guard gig was a hire through my local PD. Not all crossing guard gigs are the same, but this one was. During one of these visits into the office, I was using my phone while I was waiting for my boss to get to me, my name being low in the alphabet. I hadn't yet blocked the dude, as it hadn't been long since this started, and I was hoping it would fizzle out on its own. I didn't check my phone in class, choosing to turn it off to avoid ADHDing it the entire day, and I was often flooded with several hours of texts all at once. What I saw on my phone drove me crazy. He started texting about pictures I had posted on Facebook about my son. He had just majorly crossed the line. I didn't sell you a car, and you're taking out your rage by threatening me and my kid? Oh, heck no. Apparently, I was loud when I said what I did, because my boss stepped right over to me next and asked what was wrong. Great person, 10 for 10, would boss again. I told her that I was getting these texts from a random that tried to buy my car. I told her I was about to erase the texts and block him, but she's like, "No, wait, don't do that. Let me see your phone." So happy I didn't delete them, because this next part still makes my heart sore. I offer and she takes my phone, reading all of the things that he texted to me. She tells me to wait until she's cleared the lobby of the other crossing guards, so I do. She then tells me to follow her behind the security doors at the PD station, still having my phone. I don't know what's happening, but I liked and trusted her, so I do. I follow her back to her office where she works on her computer, referring my phone on occasion. She asks if all I have is the phone number or if I got his name too. I tell her I only got a first name and scroll to the text where he introduced himself. A semi-uncomfortable amount of time later, she hands my phone back. Something to mention, my boss isn't just administrative. I didn't know this at the time, but she's a full-on lieutenant in the local PD. She came up the ranks from patrol, moving to a position where she exclusively investigated family complaints before moving into her current desk position. Needless to say, she didn't take people threatening others lightly. Because I hadn't blocked the number, I still had the text messages with the dude's name, and she had used it to cross-search him and the phone number. Long story short, she knew exactly who he was. She says not to worry, but don't delete or respond to his texts anymore. She had it. If it got worse, I should call her or 911 as appropriate right away. Unconcerned and happy she had the situation in hand, I leave and go to class. When I'm back to the office to sign my next time card 2 weeks later, I had several unread texts from the guy. I had filtered them, so I didn't see them pop up and hadn't read them. I had sold the car for full asking price, but forgotten the entire situation. My boss tells me to wait for her again as she had something else for me to sign, and I again return to her office. She briefly explains what she had for me was an actionable complaint that she needed for me to sign from my issue 2 weeks ago. I remember everything all over again. She must see my face because she tells me not to worry and that she can tell what's going on more after I actually sign the form. So I do. Dear Reddit, this is the best situation anyone could have asked for. The phone number tied to many people, as the provider was known for cheap cell service for those who were desperate for a way to contact people, services, or employment. But with the name Matt, again fake name, she was able to find out who was messing with me. She then got a driver's license, which led to an address, which led to a police report for possible violence. Fall down the rabbit hole some more, and you find out that this dude had 5 kids by 4 different women, and he was in arrears on his child support to all of them. Hadn't been paying for over 10 years, and it was in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $50,000, if memory serves. But he somehow, just 2 weeks ago, requested a title transfer for a, new to him, quite fancy old car. I don't remember the kind, but think high-end car show and massive insurance premiums. Being so far in arrears meant that my boss was able to place a seizure order on the car so it could be sold to pay back the child support. One of the baby mamas lives in a state where fleeing child support meant that you could have a warrant issued for your arrest. When she called the interested parties in that state to see if they wanted her to execute the arrest warrant, they said yes, with much haste. That was a funny phrase, so I always remembered it. One conversation later, and my boss was able to determine that he was using the brother's social security number on his employment forms to avoid child support garnishments. This is all sorts of illegal, so she notified this guy's HR department so it could be corrected. They informed her that he would be fired for fraudulently submitting false documents. She then told me that about 4 days ago, she had executed the warrant on the dude for felony abandonment, and that the state he was to be held for was already en route to pick him up. It carried an 8 to 12-year sentence, and he still had to pay back his child support. I could have dealt with the comment. I could have dealt with the not taking no for an answer, even dealt with the stalking a little bit. But when you think it's okay to bring my kid into the picture, you done crossed the line. If you would have stopped at no, you wouldn't be in jail right now. My boss really was the best. I cried when I left that job. She retired a few years back, and I sent her a huge cake. She remembered me and called to thank me. She was fantastic and never gave me a reason to doubt her support. Have you ever dealt with someone who wouldn't take no for an answer? If so, what did you do about it? Please let us know. Oh, I just love it when the bad guy gets what they deserve. Am I the jerk for how I handled my creepy coworker? I have a coworker, I'll call him Keith, who I feel like is starting to cross a line with me. He's always talking about his wife and how awful she is, and I'm always tuning him out or telling him I don't want to hear it because it sounds like some midlife crisis crap where he's trying to hit on me. Last week, he asked me to happy hour. I said maybe. Is he getting a group together? He was super vague and dodged the question, saying,
We'll see who comes out. You never know with these things, and people having other stuff going on.
I asked if he invited anyone else. My spidey senses were tingling. And he said, yeah, some of the guys on the team. I said, cool. Who? He said that he just asked around. I was getting a super strong feeling he was trying to pretend he tried to plan a group event. But, what a coincidence, only I showed up. I could have said, no, I wasn't interested, but I honestly was feeling a little petty and wanted to catch him out in a lie. So I said that I didn't know about going out. It would be fun to hang out with the group, but my dog was feeling sick and I didn't feel good leaving him alone that long. I then went around to pretty much the whole team and was like, yo, there's a happy hour at Patty's, 5 p.m. You coming? Keith's planning it. Did you already hear about it from him? And got like 15 people saying Keith didn't mention anything to them yet. About 10 of them were down to hang out. I texted Keith to say that my dog seemed okay. My roommate was taking care of him, so I was down to go to happy hour. So at 5, a whole group made their way to the bar, Keith included. I started to drive to the bar, and then I got a text from my roommate that my dog threw up in the bed, and I had to go deal with it. A white lie. I guess Keith had to go out with a bunch of guys we work with who thought he had organized the happy hour. I know he isn't the type to want to hang out with coworkers outside of work, so I feel like that was a bit of karma for trying to be two-faced with me. Ended up having to do the thing he was pretending to be doing. He told me the day later that it was rude of me to invite an additional number of people and then dip out. I said, sorry, I thought it was a team happy hour like he was saying. Anyway, I couldn't make it because my dog was sick. Am I the jerk for being petty instead of direct? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Keith? Please let us know. Sounds like Keith got just what he deserved. There are better ways to deal with a midlife crisis, like buying an expensive convertible sports car you don't really need. If I don't get help, you don't get help either. Many years ago, I worked at a large movie theater at a mall as an assistant manager. We were always busy and had full staffing levels on the weekends, but to make up for the payroll costs, off-peak days and hours were staffed extremely low. 1 staff member per area usually. We always received our inventory shipments on a weekday and in the morning/early afternoon, but they were always such large shipments that my general manager, a sensible fellow, would usually have an extra staff member or 2 scheduled to help put the massive amounts of candy, popcorn bags, tubs, drink cups, 35-pound bags of popcorn kernels, cleaning supplies, and whatnot away. Even with the help, this could take a few hours. There would always be at least 4 or 5 massive pallets delivered. Well, on one usual inventory day, there was a slight problem. The week before, my GM went on vacation and the assistant GM, a total jerk, made the schedule. Ever the stingy jerk, he decided it was not worth a few extra payroll hours to schedule any extra people on that day to help out with a shipment. Furthermore, on that day, he had scheduled himself and I as the 2 managers on duty during that shift. And since he was above such petty things as actually doing any work at all other than sitting in the office reading sports scores on the computer, it was up to me to get the entire order put away, cover breaks for each lone staff member working in the box and concessions and usher, and deal with any customer complaints and issues should any arise. I was, well, I still am, a very small, lightweight female. Lifting a couple £1,000 of boxes and bags in a short time period, while also tasked with the aforementioned responsibilities completely solo, just didn't seem logical to me. So I made my way back to the office, where Assistant General Jerkface was reading golf scores or something. I said, "Hey, I could really use some help putting the order away. I can't get all of this done before the end of my shift." The jerk scoffed, gives me a sarcastic smile, and goes,
I think you can handle it by yourself.
I say, "Well, I would really appreciate you covering the breaks for the staff while I work on this then. I really can't do all of this by myself before the end of my shift." Again, the jerk gives me that same grin and he goes,
Well, if I were working alone, I know I would be able to do it all by myself. So you should be able to do it as well. Figure it out.
"Fine, forget you." So I go back out there and just start hauling butt to get things put away. In fact, I'm furious. And when I'm furious, I can be a little careless. I'm about halfway through the initial third of the quarter of a tenth of the first large pallet of BS I'm tasked with handling when I realized something that infuriated me even more. Jerk Assistant GM was supposed to be the person who prepped the area we stored candy in the day before. What this means, in theory, is that the person responsible for that goes into the candy storage area, rotates all of the stock from the last week to the front left side of the shelves so we can stock the new stuff towards the back right, so we don't overlook a case of cookie dough bites, and then it goes bad, gets our customers sick, and we get sued, or something like that. Anyways, since the jerk did not do this, I now not only have to put this crap away myself, I'm also responsible for rotating the existing boxes on the shelves in a neat stack on the left before I can even think about unloading this pile of overpriced diabetes chow. So now, I'm just a whirlwind of candy shuffling fury. As fast and carelessly as possible, I'm just punching boxes into their rightful positions without any regard to their delicate innards. I don't know if M&Ms can bruise, but some of them probably did that day. My rage was actually helping me out quite a bit, until I got to the Twizzlers. For you lucky souls that have never stocked boxes of bulk candy before, most of them are reasonably sized at about 5 to 10 pounds a box. So while there are a lot of them, they're reasonably manageable. This is not the case with Twizzlers. Our Twizzlers packages were full-sized, and there are about 60 of them in a box. I shove my arm in to grab the first of the massive box of twisty sugar ropes that's on the right side that needs to be on the left side, and completely rip off a good-sized chunk of my arm near the elbow on the metal shelf bracket. Well, I was told before that bleeding on the boxes was generally frowned upon, so I made my way back to the office to interrupt Jerky McGolf's scores and show him my ouchie arm. Despite his failings in literally every other area in his life, he does realize that workplace injuries should be taken seriously because potential lawsuits and money and liability and whatnot, and immediately located a clinic that we had some sort of professional dealings with that would check out my arm and give me a tetanus shot and all that jazz at no cost to myself. I was pretty hysterical at this point, although not, as he thought, over my injury, and he assumed I was upset about having to lose hours. I was hourly, you see, and assured me that I would receive pay for the full day at work. So I got to the clinic, got patched up, got my tetanus shot, and was home about 3 hours prior to the end of my shift while I had the knowledge that the jerk now had to go rotate the stock, get the order put away, cover breaks, and handle people complaining that Saw 3 wasn't the intellectual cinematic masterpiece that they thought it would be, and could they pretty please get their money back even though they watched the whole thing, while I get to sit at home receiving full pay for the rest of the day. Worth that scar though, in my opinion. Am I the jerk for driving away from a hiking trip with my boss's husband? I, 26, female, recently moved to a new city after getting a job. I've been having a hard time making friends. Most of the people I know so far are from work. We all get along, but we aren't close, more like acquaintances. My boss, Sue, has been very welcoming since I moved here. She often has all of us over for dinner and loves to celebrate whenever there's a birthday, a baby, or a big milestone in our team. Last week, I was out to lunch with Sue and a few other coworkers when Sue told me about a hiking group her husband runs and how it's a great way to meet people. She said he would be leading a hike on Monday, this past Monday, and the whole team should go since it's a holiday. Monday was my birthday, but I hadn't told anyone and I didn't have any other plans, so I said yes to the hike. I drove to the meeting spot on Monday, which was kind of remote and up in the hills. Nobody was there when I arrived besides Sue's husband, Greg. I asked him where everyone was. He said no one else could make it and it would just be us on the hike. It was early morning and still dark, and I didn't know Greg other than seeing him passing at Sue's house. I knew he was probably a nice guy, but I felt nervous going on a hike in the dark, remote area with a guy who was practically a stranger. I called Sue, and she told me that something came up with her kid, but I should go. It'll be worth it for the view, etc. I still felt unsettled and asked Greg if we could just postpone for a day when the others could come. He got frustrated, saying it's no big deal and we should hurry up and start. I was more nervous at that point and thanked him before saying I was going to head home. That upset him even more, and he came towards me and asked if I thought he was some sort of a criminal. He seemed angry, so I panicked and jumped in the car, saying that I had to go. He kept yelling at me to stop as I drove away. I was on the way home, terrified, when Sue called me. Apparently, the hiking trip was a cover for a surprise birthday party the team was throwing me at the lookout point. She found out about my birthday through Facebook, and Greg was just supposed to lead me there. I felt terrible and offered to drive back, but Sue was upset and said I ruined it for everyone and made Greg feel like a creeper. Now the environment at work is tense. Sue and my coworkers only talk to me when they need something, and they didn't invite me to team lunch. I feel like I really messed up. Fiancé demands a more expensive engagement ring. My fiancé, Kate, who's 33, and I, 35, male, got engaged last summer. Wedding is set for November. My friend Aaron, who's 35, male, just proposed to his girlfriend Amber, who's 30, at the end of June. We had a 4th of July party at their house Monday, and everything was going great. At the party, Kate and the other woman there asked to see the ring. There were a lot of oohs and ahs amongst the group when Kate asked what kind of stones were in the ring. Amber said that the band had 40 diamonds and the center was a 1-carat diamond. 41 diamonds and 3 carats total, technically a solitaire with an elaborate band and no halo. Kate said that wasn't possible on their budget. Amber looked at her ring and said it looked like diamonds to her, but Kate brought up how their budget was $1,500 like ours and was for Kate's ring, and Aaron must have been cheated. Kate's ring is a 1/2-carat solitaire. I was confused too, as I and another friend went with him to pick out the ring since our budgets were similar, and I noticed immediately that it was not the ring he picked out with us, though I said nothing. Aaron told Kate he spent $6,000 on the ring, and he never intended to stay in budget since he could afford much more. He said Amber deserved the best and wanted to surprise her with both the proposal and the ring. Aaron took out the card that came with the ring with the specs from his wallet, confirming they're diamonds. Aaron said he only brought us to make sure it was a surprise and there was no way Amber would find out what he was up to. Amber is very money conscious, so Aaron explained he's been saving since their 3rd date for the ring and he paid in cash. They've been together for 2 years. Fast forward a couple of hours. Kate and I are driving home when she mentioned the ring and how romantic Aaron was to save for a special ring. She asked why I didn't do what Aaron did. Oh goodness. She asked why I didn't do what Aaron did, which is get her something I knew she'd love and not be so focused on budgets. Personally, I don't like large flashy diamond rings. They look gaudy, and I think they're a waste of money. I told her she was envious that Amber's ring is twice the size of hers and flashy, but it's not a big deal. Kate said she should get a different ring that shows how I feel. I said no, that the ring she has already does that and was in our budget we agreed on. She said she's envious, not of the ring, but that Amber is with someone that is more focused on her personal value and not budgets. I snapped and said that she should try to find someone like Aaron then, since my ring wasn't good enough. It's been frosty in the house since. I'm not sure what to do here. She's never mentioned the size of her ring until now, and this has been our biggest disagreement in the 4 years we've been together. I can count on one hand how many fights we've had. I feel like I should get her another ring, but I'm also angry that she feels the one I bought is no longer good enough. Am I the jerk for my response to Kate and my refusing to get her a new ring? Well, what do you think? Should OP get Kate a new ring or not? Please let us know. I think he should find a new girlfriend, to be honest, but what do I know? I'm just a Karen. Am I the jerk for asking my brother to not bring his wife to family events? I come from a very orthodox family. There are certain rules for how we're supposed to act, like not wearing revealing clothes, even jeans and shorts. A few years back, I started attending this language class. My parents agreed very reluctantly and became friends with a girl there. Introduced her to my older brother, male 25, who would pick me up from class. Long story short, they fell in love and eloped. My mother was devastated. She cried for days and blamed me for introducing her to my brother. My brother moved into an apartment pretty close to ours, but maintained his distance from us and gradually cut contact. Until this year, when they finally decided to reconcile. I thought they would tone things down and slowly get my parents to approve of their marriage. It was naive of me to think so. My sister-in-law wears short pants and skirts for every family event. She talks about moving to Europe, never having kids, and everything else that my mother cannot fathom. She has the luxury of saying all this and running back to the safety of her house. I'm the one who has to sit through the aftermath. The minute she leaves, my parents start yelling about how much shame and bad luck she's gonna bring our family. They also never forget to point out that none of this would have happened if I hadn't gone to that language class. I have repeatedly asked my sister-in-law to just wear normal clothes for a few hours, but she refuses to. Recently, my older sister had a baby, and there's plenty of ceremonies that are to be performed. These ceremonies are huge, and most of my relatives will be attending it. I can only imagine the fights that will start at home. My brother called to ask me if there was something he could do, and I straight up told him not to show up, or to show up without his wife. He called me a jerk and said that I was just like our parents. I know that the only person in the wrong here are my parents, but I know them, and I know they won't change. And I don't think wearing different sets of clothes for a few hours is a big deal. And if it is, then they can just not attend. So, I think I'm not the jerk, but maybe I just can't see it. So tell me, Reddit. Edit. I live in a South Asian country. Definitely do not have the resources or the support to leave my family. At least not now. I have no issues with what my sister-in-law wears. If I did, I would never have befriended her, which I did before she married my brother. When I said she talks about being child-free and moving to Europe, far away from my parents, I did not mean she should not do so. What I was trying to say is that she is aware that this will upset my parents and will still bring it up in front of them. I'm guessing most of the comments are from people in the West. It might be easy to walk away from your family where you live. Family is everything you have here. However, I asked for judgment from an impartial source, so I will accept whatever verdict I get. Final update. I thought I mentioned my age in the post, but apparently I didn't. I'll be turning 17 this year, so no, I can't just leave. Leaving would mean running away, and they'll just call the cops to bring me back. So there's no point. My brother doesn't see anything wrong with how my parents treat me. His progress only starts and ends with his wife. He will definitely not let me move in with him. Some of you sent really nice messages, but there's also a lot of mean ones, so I'm sorry, but I'm just not gonna open any more of them. Since most of the people have voted that I'm the jerk, I'm just gonna accept that. I did ask for an unbiased opinion. For an update, nothing much has really changed in the positive direction. My brother was really annoyed with the way I spoke to him yesterday since I'm younger than him. So he called up my mother to complain about me, which just ended up with them having more arguments. There is a silver lining though. I called my older sister and told her what happened, and she's asked me to come stay with her for a week under the guise of helping prepare for the ceremony. So hopefully they'll forget about this by the time we meet next. I did reach out to my sister-in-law, but she hasn't responded, which I guess is fair. I did send her an apology. Also, I want to apologize to all the people from the West for implying that family isn't as important to you people. I was very angry when I wrote that. I had a whole night to think about it, and that was definitely wrong of me. So, I'm sorry. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you ask your sister-in-law to wear different clothes or not? Please let us know. Talk about entitled parents. Am I the jerk for picking out peas for my dinner in front of my mom's boss? Edit. I'm autistic and I don't like peas because of the texture that makes me feel bad. I'm dependent on my mom because I'm not able to live on my own yet, but I'm learning. I didn't realize that could change the context of the story until it was pointed out to me. Thank you for your insight so far. Hello, I'm 20 and I live with my mom, who's 48, in the UK. Mom hosted a mini dinner for some colleagues. Her husband has a big house and a garden where we sat. I don't like dinners and eating with strangers, but I had to sit with them, which was a little bit stupid. They made food I don't like. It had peas in it, and I don't like peas. My mom knows this, but I wasn't allowed to eat other stuff because it would be making a fuss, and there was no time to make other things. I was not allowed to make something myself either. I picked out the peas from my dinner to feed to the ducks at the pond close to my stepdad's house because I know ducks like peas. They shouldn't eat bread because that's bad for them. I put all the peas in a little cup with my spoon. Mom's boss was sitting opposite of me and asked what I was doing, so I told him. He was silent for a while and then said okay. We didn't talk a lot, but sometimes he asked me a question and I answered. At the end, he gave me some more peas that he had removed from his own food. I asked if he also didn't like peas, and he said, I do like peas, but I also like ducks, so they can have my peas, which I think was nice of him. He also gave me 5 pounds to buy ice cream for myself when I feed the ducks, which was also very nice of him. We didn't talk much, but I think he was a nice man and I liked him. But when he left, he talked to my mom, and she came to me and she was angry or upset. She asked me if I spent all dinner picking out peas, and I said no. I also ate the pasta bits, but there were a lot of peas to pick out. She asked why I did that in front of everyone, because that's very rude to do during a dinner. It shows you do not like the food and are not interested in the guest. This is exactly what I thought, so that's true. Mom said that she understood that it's not nice, but if she says it's important, like she did before dinner, then it really is important, and I should keep that in mind. They were people who deserved respect and who feel put off by others touching their food strangely or not engaging with them. Mom's boss told her before he left that maybe next time I should eat something else because I didn't eat much. I'm not a big eater, so it's kind of normal for me, but he doesn't know that, of course. But the point is that he said something negative to her that could have been avoided if I didn't pick the peas out of my food. I didn't think about this. I understand that that is not a good thing, but my mom was genuinely upset, and I think that's a little bit much. It's just a dinner, and he was a nice man. I don't think he's angry at her. I was just wondering if I'm not seeing something important here that makes me the jerk for doing this. Am I the jerk? Update. Some comments said to talk about it with my mom. I did, and it went very well. She said she's sorry and that it was not my fault. She explained to me how it went, and I will try to tell it as short as possible. Mom was very stressed because she never hosts dinners. She wanted her colleagues to like it. They requested the recipe. She forgot I don't eat peas, but she was too busy with her colleagues. She wanted me to eat with them because at her colleague's house, his kids also ate with them. She didn't want to make a fuss about this because sometimes I'm rude when people ask about it. She said her head was all over the place all evening. I said to her that that's why I could have made my own food. She said that was difficult because there was no time for that. I didn't realize because I'm not good with time awareness. I asked her to communicate with me next time and to be more clear about what I can or can't do. She said she will and said I can help cook next time too. Almost every comment said that her boss was nice. He probably wasn't angry or upset with her. I told this to my mom. She said sorry to me again because she wasn't upset at me at all. She was embarrassed because she tried to get me to behave normally, and she shouldn't have done that. She took it out on me on a whim. I also said sorry because I didn't realize that it could have been important for her work status. I just thought they were like friends. She said it was okay because I didn't make a big fuss and I didn't get loud or walk away. She's proud of me for staying at the table and also thinking about the ducks. We concluded that we both learned things. I learned things because I now know more about work dinners and manners. She learned things because she now knows to communicate and explain more to me to avoid stress. Last thing is that I fed the ducks the peas. I think they were happy about it. The thing with ducks is that they don't say that to you, of course. I got an ice cream with 2 scoops at the pond. I also got one for my mom because I had money left. It was a little bit melted when I came home because it was 5 minutes walking, but she still liked it, and she said I was amazing. I don't work here, but that's my daughter. She does. Around 5 years ago, my eldest daughter used to work for one of the local grocery stores as a cashier. I'm not trying to brag here, but my daughter is beautiful. She was going to be a model, but she has a heart condition, and the stress of the job would have been too much for her. Even after 3 kids, she's only 52 kilos, 115 pounds for the US, at 1.5 meters tall, 5'8", with long dark hair, almost black but not quite, and eyes so dark it is hard to see her pupils unless the light hits her eyes just right. People involved were, no real names, my daughter, Annie, the mouthy idiot, and the store manager, and a tiny part, me. One day, as I was done shopping and waiting in line, there were two people behind the one at the cash register my daughter is working at. By this time, I can see the look on her face and know she's getting a hard time. I only had a few items, maybe 3 or 4, so I asked the lady ahead of me if she minded me skipping ahead. She moved over and let me pass without a fuss. I thanked her, then turned my attention to my daughter and this guy at her till, ready to go into protective dad mode. At this time, I was about to say something to this mouthy idiot. He had been hitting on Annie and flirting, and when that didn't work, he started commenting on her body. That's when I moved forward in the line. I'm glad she got her mouth from her mother, because she let this guy have it. She told him how disgusting he is, how he's an embarrassment to all real men, and many other things only those who worked in retail have to put up with. This mouthy idiot could have left at any time, but stood there like a kid getting scolded from a teacher in an elementary school and took it all. Annie did not raise her voice, but leaned over the pin pad for a debit card, looking him square in the eyes the entire time. At this time, her manager came over to find out what was going on. So Annie repeats many of the things this guy had said to her, and the manager is in the process of telling this mouthy idiot he's no longer welcome in this store. I leaned over and said quietly in his ear, "I can't wait to welcome you to the parking lot." I'm not a small man, but I'm no giant either. I'm 1.8 meters tall, 6 foot 3 inches, and 102 kilos, 225 pounds, but he was only up to my shoulders tall and nearly half my weight. I didn't seem to scare him at first because he squared up to me, looking up, and asked, "Who are you? Security?" Annie spoke before I had the chance and said so sweetly, "Hi, Daddy." I said, "Hi, baby." At this, the entire front of the store, workers and customers alike, watched as this mouthy idiot ran out of the store. The funniest part was he left all of his groceries and his debit card behind. He had to come back for it sometime later. Annie never got in any trouble, not even a talking to. The manager was 100% on her side, and mouthy idiot was banned for a year. I could mention here that the manager and Annie are best friends outside of work and take vacations together, both families. But is that really important? I am proud to have helped raise a strong woman and a force to be trifled with. Would I be the jerk for suing my neighbor for filming me and posting it? I, 22 male, am a professional dancer. I'm visiting my parents for a few weeks, and they have a small training room for me in the basement. So I was there, trained some stuff for the upcoming show, beginning when restrictions let it begin. And later that day, I scrolled through Instagram. On Instagram, I've seen that my neighbor, who's 20, filmed me and posted it onto her story. It was not a short clip. It was a whole bunch of stuff, about 3 minutes worth of clips. I texted her and told her to please delete the clips, and she said the dancing was really good and that she would not delete it, as many of her followers, over 8,000, love it, and she offered me to put a shout out into her story. What the heck? I got a private Instagram account with 54 followers and do not care. So first of all, I don't even know her. We added on Instagram after a short chat and never talked again. I live 500 miles away. The thing is, now that I feel violated in my privacy. I mean, I have no problem with getting seen or filmed, but not at home. And for me, an even more important fact, on the video, there's some tricks and steps and effects that should not be seen until the great live reveal on stage. I'm thinking about suing her for this, as I do not feel comfortable with getting my private stuff posted. Would I be the jerk? Update. I reached out to her again and told her that we will sue her. She just brushed it off, saying that the story will be gone in 2 hours anyways, so just forget it. I screen recorded the whole story, plus the direct messages, and reported it to Instagram, who have not done anything yet. I had a Zoom call with my crew and our manager after that. The manager told me we will sue her, as some of the routines, etc. are likely to be stolen. I don't know what to expect from that whole thing, but yeah, at least she might take a lesson from it, I guess. Our lawyers have done pretty good jobs so far. Thanks for all the answers. Bless you guys, for real. Edit after reading some of the answers. I have no evidence that she was in our garden while filming. Between the road and the window is a garden which is about 5 meters bright. She either zoomed straight into the window with a perfect angle and filmed it that way, which I doubt, or she went into the garden, which makes more sense as the quality of the recording was pretty good and stable. The window is pretty small as well. And for those wondering, I live in Austria, and as far as I know, you are not allowed to post footage online without consent of the people portrayed. If the focus is on the landscape and there are people passing by it, it's discussable. But she explicitly filmed me on my training session, nothing else. It really creeps me out that someone watched me this whole time and I didn't realize. I'm looking forward to returning to my city and training in my studio again. Edit 2. I will post an update in a few days. This blew up overnight, and I will try to read through everything and answer open questions. So far, and again, thank you for all of your answers and ideas. I really appreciate all of you. Entitled Mom wanted to move in with us, so I left. This took place the summer of 2013. My girlfriend at the time was living in her own place, and her mom, Entitled Mom, wanted to move back from a 4.5-hour drive away. We had gone down and grabbed Entitled Mom and her dog, who was a yippy kind of a dog. He barked every morning that I got up to get ready for work. She said that she was going to sleep in the living room with her dog on her lap until her husband could get their place. The story went that he had it in the works with a renter and was just waiting for some paperwork. After a week, Entitled Mom found out her husband had been lying about the new house and said she would move in with us. Reluctantly, I agreed. After learning they all owed money to a truck rental place, they asked me to get one. Again, reluctantly, I agreed. The truck rental was for one trip from her place back home. Remember this. I recruited a buddy and a brother to help move her back to our place. It wouldn't have been so bad had it not been for the 4.5-hour drive into winding roads with a cliffside to one side. I drove my car down to the rental place, and then they drove it to her old place as I drove the truck. We went early to have as much daylight as possible. Well, when we arrived, we found that her place was in complete disarray. As we moved things, we found that Entitled Mom's dog and other animals had taken dumps everywhere. We found boxes that were literally full with doggy doo that she for some reason wanted to keep. After working for 4 hours, we needed to take a break. Mind you, only I was the professional mover, as I had 2 years of furniture delivery at the time. Entitled Mom complained the entire time that we were resting and that we weren't moving fast enough. After we finally packed the truck as much as we could, I found that my car's battery had been drained due to someone leaving the lights on. At that point, it was too late to get a battery or jump cables from anywhere, and the closest Walmart was an hour drive in the opposite direction that we had to go. So I had to call off work for the next day for that. On top of that, we left out around 3 or 4 a.m. We had to put my brother and buddy in the back of the truck for the excruciating drive back, since there was no way I was leaving them alone for essentially a whole day by themselves in a highly wooded area in a house filled with crap with nothing to sleep on. About 15 to 20 minutes left in the trip, we had to stop and get gas. And after the refuel, the battery on the truck had died. Called the company for them to come jump it. When opening the back of the truck to check on the guys, a statue fell out of the back of the truck and shattered. Entitled Mom lost her mind and told the two of them to just start walking home. They didn't even care and started their walk back. Luckily, my dad was able to get them since it wasn't that far away. At this point, I was sleep deprived from various things on top of having worked the day before we left and having left early the previous day for the move. Exhausted and frustrated, I just wanted to sleep when I got home before unloading the truck. Upon returning home, I got a whole hour in before Entitled Mom demanded we start to unpack the truck. After hours of demands, I had enough and left and walked to my dad's. Girlfriend and Entitled Mom both tried calling me for hours, but I had my phone off. When they finally got a hold of me, I told them that we could go grab my car and come back home, but Entitled Mom said she needed to get more stuff. The truck rental company only had us with one trip from her town to ours, but we added enough miles to add $300+ to the order. My friend and brother were out. I wasn't going to ask them to do anything after experiencing that. Instead, Entitled Mom's nephew hopped on to help. We went down, grabbed more stuff, and Entitled Mom said she needed to get back to do a pool tournament. We jumped my car, she drove it back, and a few hours later we left too. Girlfriend, nephew, and myself, with me having about 3 hours total sleep in the last 3 or 4 days. Girlfriend didn't drive and decided to sleep while we drove back. Girlfriend helped keep me awake so we didn't go off the cliffside. After countless hours, I was fed up, emptied the truck, and took it to our town's rental place. Girlfriend and I had fought more than usual that night, and I said that I needed to go on a walk to cool off because I didn't want to break anything. Girlfriend said that if I left, she was locking the door. I didn't care. I just needed to get my head clear. She did lock the door, and I realized she had my car keys. I threatened to call the cops, but she didn't believe me. So I called the cops. When they showed up, she claimed that the car was hers. They asked her for proof, and she pulled out the registration, which was in my name, including the insurance. She started screaming that she helped pay for the car, which made it hers. Entitled Mom stepped outside and tried to back her up. The police politely told them that they couldn't do anything and that the car was mine and to please hand over the keys. The cops left, and after a few threatening words from entitled mom and girlfriend, I left and never looked back. Now I'm married to someone who has stable parents and an unconditional love for me, and we're about to move into our own house after years of building each other. The packing and moving reminded me of this messed up time of my life, and I figured here would be a great place for me to tell my story. Have you ever had a girlfriend or a boyfriend whose parents were crazy? If so, what did you do about it? Please let us know. I love Mama and Papa Reddit. I don't know how they wound up having you. Entitled mom spends unemployment money on cruise, then wants a refund. I work for a customer service center, and before lockdown, I was taking calls for cruise and travel insurance. I would speak with entitled people all the time, but one lady in particular still stands out in my mind. The name has been changed to Karen to protect the guilty. So it's been a rough day, as I listen and sympathize with people's problems that are causing them to have to cancel their cruise. Then, just a couple minutes before my lunch, I get Karen. Now I should mention that the company I work for is in no way affiliated with any cruise line. We just contract labor for the insurance company and have no control over the insurance policy or the decision of the claim. So I give my greeting in an upbeat and cheerful manner because I'm good at my job, and part of my job is to be friendly to people, even if I'm feeling lousy. So after the greeting and getting the info to pull up in her account, the conversation goes like this. Karen: Yeah, finally. I had to cancel my cruise, so I need to get a refund. Me: I'm very sorry to hear that you had to cancel your cruise, but I would be happy to help you. What was the reason that you had to cancel? The state canceled my unemployment, so I need to get the money back. Now at this point, I should mention that the insurance policies that the people sign says that they can get a full cash refund if they have to cancel for one of the reasons listed in the policy, or if they don't qualify or don't want to provide documentation. As long as they paid for the plan in time, they can get a cancel for any reason. Cruise credit equal to 75% of what they paid for the cruise, not including what was paid for the insurance. The most common reason is for a medical emergency. Needless to say, just wanting your money back doesn't qualify for a cash refund. So I'm thinking I must have misheard her or something. So after a second's pause to gather my wits, I say, what did you say was the reason you had to cancel? Karen: Audible sigh. I paid for this cruise with the money I got from unemployment, but I just got a letter from them saying I won't be getting any more unemployment money after the end of this month, so I need that money back to pay bills. Me, baffled. Ma'am, I do apologize for the inconvenience. The policy that you purchased has two sections. The first one is the trip cancellation benefit, which offers a full cash refund in the event— Yes, that's the one I need. Me. The first one is the trip cancellation benefit, which offers a full cash refund in the event you have to cancel your trip after you pay for the insurance. Yes, I told you that is what I need. How soon do I get my money? Me. The first one is the trip cancellation benefit, which offers a full cash refund in the event you have to cancel your trip after you pay for the insurance for one of the reasons listed in the policy. Unfortunately, having your unemployment insurance run out is not one of the reasons listed in— Karen: What? I was told that I could cancel for any reason and get my money back. Me. There is a cancel for any reason cruise credit equal to 75% of— No, I need it all back. Ma'am, I do apologize for the inconvenience. Per the policy, the full cash refund minus what was paid for the insurance is only available if we can document that the reason you canceled for is one of the 8 specified reasons. Otherwise, there is the cancel for any reason cruise credit. A cruise credit? I don't need me no cruise credit. I need my money back. Ma'am, I'm sorry for the confusion, but the policy says that we can only offer a cash refund if you have to cancel for one of the specified reasons. Those reasons are— So, what are those so-called reasons? Me. The first reason is for sickness or injury to yourself, a traveling companion, or member of either of your immediate families. That is diagnosed and— So what if I say I'm sick? I'm very sorry to hear that. As part of the claims process, we will need documentation of your sickness from your doctor. So we— What? Those are my private medical records. No way are you getting my private medical records. You have no right to see them. That is, of course, your choice, but the policy does say diagnosed and treated by a licensed physician. So if we aren't able to get the medical documentation, we would not be able to offer a cash refund. There is, however, the cancel for, well, if I say that I'm sick, that's all the documentation you'll receive or have any right to. Well, you're welcome to submit a claim, but if we can't receive the medical documentation, we will be unable to provide a cash refund. But I need that money to pay rent and buy groceries for my kids. Are you saying you want my kids to be starving and homeless? Me. I'm very sorry to hear that. Perhaps you can speak with the unemployment office to see what they can do. I already tried that, and they said they wouldn't. I need that money. Me. Then perhaps you could see if there are any kind of state or local assistance programs, or perhaps a local church or charity would be willing to help you. So, what you're saying is that you want my kids to be homeless and starving? I didn't know they were going to end my unemployment when I paid for this cruise. It's not my fault. Me. I'm very sorry to hear about your financial difficulties. Unfortunately, I can't change the contract. Perhaps. No one told me I had to give no reason to get my money back. I shouldn't have to give no reason why to get my money back. That's why you buy insurance. Me. I'm very sorry for the inconvenience. I am unable to alter the contract or change the reasons listed and what are those reasons? So I go through all of the reasons listed in the policy, and surprise, surprise, none of them apply to her. So she even gets more upset and is screaming even louder and demanding to speak with my supervisor, since she says I want to see her family struggle. I tell her I'd be happy to get her manager on the line as soon as possible, but that they can't change the policy either. Karen demands to speak with someone who can. I inform her that any changes in the insurance contract would require the sign-off of the entire legal department, which is a guess on my part, and that even then it would only apply to new policies, not ones already signed. So she demands to speak with the CEO, like I have the CEO on speed dial or something. So I offer to submit an escalation to our executive team. Karen, still screeching, tells me she don't need no executive team. I didn't ask you for no executive team. I told you to let me speak with the CEO. I tell her that the executive team is the highest level I have access to, and even there, I don't get to talk to them, just submit escalation requests. But she says that's not good enough and demands the CEO's private cell phone number, insisting she knows that I have it. I don't. She keeps threatening to call the cruise line and tell them to fire me, but I keep trying to tell her that I don't work for the cruise line. Eventually, she says she's going to sue me and send me to prison and hangs up. I, being the friendly and helpful person I am, submit the escalation and make sure to put in the exact details so that if she calls in again, people will know what she's up to. And then I go to lunch, secure in the knowledge that I'm most likely never going to hear from her again, especially since she kept on calling me the wrong names the whole time. Well, what do you think? Should Karen have gotten a refund that she wanted or not? Please let us know. Honestly, I wish she could have gotten the refund for her family's sake. But then again, there's no telling she even would have spent it on them. Who knows? My house has to have a uniform appearance? Okay. So this happened in the early 2000s. I had a chance meeting with an old friend who reminded me of this story. Just for clarification's sake, I had an accident which left me with a long road to recover personal mobility. At the time, I lived in a third-story Victorian-era apartment, so I bought a ranch-style house that was better suited to my recovery. The house was 3-bed, 2.5-bath, detached garage, and by my opinion, a rather ugly shade of yellow. My girlfriend at the time took the opportunity to move in with me. Beyond family, I had 2 regular visitors, a personal trainer, and an aide. So for argument's sake, I can't say that everything leading up to the malicious compliance was brought on by one single neighbor, but at this very least, if I had a fire, she was pouring gasoline in it. I quite quickly met 2 of my neighbors upon moving in. The 2 couldn't be any more opposite if they tried. One neighbor, Al, an old biker whom everyone should have a neighbor like at least once in their lives, and the other, Wilma, nosy neighbor extraordinaire. The rest of the neighborhood was a great blend of ages, ethnicities, families, and not. Just good people doing the best they could. Things started off on the wrong foot. More appropriately, wheel with Wilma. Right off the bat, she made it clear that she was the type of person to personally inspect anything you did to your house, and she did not mind telling you if something wasn't up to her standards, which included my old '69 Chevy truck she clearly thought was ugly. Note, throughout this story, I was not able to drive it as I was mostly wheelchair-bound. However, I kept it registered and ready. Though for some reason, Wilma loved my girlfriend and would talk at length to her. My girlfriend did not share the same feelings for Wilma. Al, on the other hand, Being a gearhead, quickly decided that I was his new best friend. Looking back, I'm glad Al was there. I'm not sure I ever told him, but he definitely had a way to pick me up on even my worst days. Anyways, problems mounted very quickly. I had hired a contractor to make some modifications to the house, and we were nearly constantly hit with inspections and stop work orders. It was clear that someone was complaining, and more often than not, Wilma seemed to be in the know about what the inspection was for. I remember one day my contractor calling the police because she was constantly on site and butting in. After that day, she'd stand on the sidewalk watching everything. Shortly after construction ended came rumors that I was cheating on my girlfriend. Nikki, my aide, was by most accounts a very attractive woman, but I wasn't her type. To be blunt, no guy was. Then came rumors that I was having an affair with my trainer. Of course, these rumors spurred the local church flyers and occasional visits to attempt to save me. Nikki tried to put on a good face, but she was clearly bothered by it, and that upset us all. Come one day, Al had had enough and confronted the church member as they were walking up to the house. It wasn't anything physical, but it was loud enough with open windows to hear Al let them know that we all had had enough. Wilma called the cops, but at least that harassment stopped. From that day on, it seems like I either had the city or the police knocking on my door all the time. If Al took me for a ride in my pickup, cops were called. If my truck wasn't parked, by whoever I let drive it in my garage at night, city was called. If my grass was a touch shaggy, city was called. If I was in my garage and dropped a wrench after 10 p.m., cops were called. If we had friends over and we were boisterous after dark, cops were called. Nikki's fiance came over and planted some flowers for me. She was a sweetheart like that. Yep, city came and visited, and I had to have my yard rearranged. So much for low-maintenance yard. All the while, somehow, Wilma seemed to know everything about what was going on. One evening, we had a bad storm. In the storm, a large branch fell off the oak in my yard and ripped off several rows of siding. Sure enough, city came knocking as my contractor is cleaning up the branches. I ended up with a notice to repair the siding on the house or face penalties. Now, we couldn't get the same siding, and to be honest, I was a bit excited to get rid of the ugly yellow, at least on the front of the house. My contractor made some emergency patches to the siding while we were supposed to decide what to do. Of course, this brought Wilma out, who informed us that the city code required a uniform appearance of the house, and Wilma was not a fan of my stating that I was thinking the house would look good in a tan color. She was trying to steer me back to yellow because my second choice, white, would have been too many white houses in a row, in her opinion. Cue malicious compliance. I confirmed with the city that yes, the house had to have a uniform appearance, which meant that I would have to at least paint the rest of the house to match the front. And that was really the only restriction. Somehow, during this time, I had found out that Wilma absolutely hated the color fuchsia. So I proceeded to tell my contractor to paint the house fuchsia. It just so happened that Wilma was away the week that my house was repaired and painted. So upon her return, she wasted no time coming over to demand we painted a different color. My girlfriend looked her straight in the eye and said something to the effect of, "It's such a lovely color and certainly wakes up the neighborhood." Wilma stormed off. Aftermath. That was more or less the end of our direct conversations with Wilma. She did call the city, who came out and gave us the blessing to keep the color. And she did complain about the hideous house across the street to our neighbors. The officers were also more or less done with her harassment towards us. I'm not sure what they said or if they said anything, but there was a definite reduction in visits. About a year later, Wilma had a heart attack, which she survived, but decided to move closer to her kids. I moved out a year after that, and I found out via said friend that the house is still fuchsia. Have you ever had your neighbors call the cops on you? If so, what was it for? Please let us know. No, I can't honor that price. I've worked at a big box retail store for a little over 3 years now, and I felt the need to post one of my millions of crazy stories. This happened about a month after my first day, so I was still pretty new, part-time, and learning a little bit every day. Of course, they don't provide the best training for people and just kind of throw you wherever and see how you do. It's definitely a learn from your mistakes kind of a job. It was my first 9-hour shift on a Sunday, and I was closing on the registers. Of course, everyone rushed up to the registers 5 minutes before closing, and I had a line of 4 people with big transactions. I managed to get everyone out of the doors 3 minutes after closing. I started collecting all of the hard tags and hangers to put them on a U-boat so that I could take them back to the stockroom. My manager was at the other end of the store, shutting down the other registers. Loss prevention has already left for the day. 10 minutes after closing, I see a heavyset 30-something woman with a shopping cart stuffed with kids' clothes literally running to my register. All smiles. Let's call her Kelly.
Looks like I made it just in time.
Me, obviously aggravated and wanting to get home. Actually, we are closed, but I can ring you up really quick. Kelly starts tossing her items on the counter, and the first item had a clearance sticker directly on the barcode, which happens occasionally. I price corrected the item and moved on to the next. Lo and behold, the next item also had a clearance sticker right on the barcode. And the next, and the next. At this point, I know that the customer was popping tags like Macklemore. I started staring daggers at her as I had to peel off every clearance sticker to scan the barcode. Kelly becomes fidgety and checks her phone for any coupons we have. She looks up and notices I stopped price correcting. Kelly,
What are you doing?
me. I noticed that somebody put clearance stickers on active product, so I'm not going to honor the prices on the sticker. Kelly, being defensive.
Well, that's not my problem. This is your guys' fault for being stupid.
Me, having done a couple of price change events, knowing darn well that we wouldn't do that. You see how the stickers are directly on the barcodes? We always put the clearance stickers above or below the barcodes, never on top. Also, it shows the original price on every clearance ticket and none of them match. Kelly,
Then who would do such a thing?
you tell me. Silence for a few minutes as I'm peeling all of the stickers carefully to scan the barcodes. 20 minutes after closing rolls around and I'm stuck with an armful of go-backs and still helping this customer. She ended up buying about half of the merchandise in her shopping cart and using a coupon. Kelly, huffing and puffing.
I'm never shopping here again. What happened to the customer's always right? You're a jerk.
Me, in the best customer service voice. I hope you have a great night. Thanks for shopping with us. Kelly irritatedly grabs her bag and walks out of the doors, less than 10 minutes before I'm supposed to clock out. Thankfully, I haven't seen Kelly since. I told the closing manager exactly what happened, and she was baffled by the situation. Fire department and the produce department are now one and the same. The context. I'm a firefighter and paramedic in a small suburb, roughly 7 square miles and 12,000 people. We have a single grocery store in our district, which we visit pretty much every shift to buy ingredients for dinner. Because of that, we're pretty well known in that store and the surrounding community because it's such a small part of town. The story. Last shift, my crew decides to stop by the grocery store in the afternoon right after we finished up a call for a vehicle accident. We were still dressed in our turnouts, the bulky yellow gear we wear for fires and rescues. My partner and I leave our jackets in the engine and go inside to buy stuff to make buffalo chicken salad. While we're grabbing veggies, I hear,
Excuse me?
right behind me. We get a lot of questions from people in general, so I'm pretty used to being stopped in public while on duty. I say, yes ma'am, and turn to find a middle-aged lady standing next to the oranges.
Are these the only oranges you have?
I'm a bit dumbfounded and reply with, I don't work here ma'am. Her response, which still baffles me.
Are you sure?
My partner and I just exchanged confused looks. There we were in t-shirts and hats with fire department all over them, bright green radios on our waistbands, and wearing baggy yellow pants with reflective stripping, obviously the uniform of one who works in the produce department. She got a bit annoyed at my silence and held an orange up to my face.
Oranges? These? Do you have any more? Or are these the only ones you have?
Still somewhat in disbelief, I answered, I work for the fire department. She said nothing, but motioned to my partner, who was dressed exactly as I was and standing right next to me.
Excuse me? Do you have any more oranges?
He snorted down a laugh and told her, yeah, I don't work here either. She threw her hands up in exasperation and walked the other way. We left the produce department to go get chicken and pretty much asked each other, what the heck? Only to be approached by her again at the front of the store.
Excuse me? When will you have the rotisserie chickens again?
Still making an attempt at being polite, I explained for the 4th time, for anyone keeping score, that we don't work at the grocery store because we're firefighters. She lets out a sigh and snaps.
Then you shouldn't be wearing a uniform in public.
My bad, I guess. You never cut the pizza straight. One guy complained every week that we didn't cut the pizza straight enough. To be fair, we probably didn't cut it particularly well most of the time, but this guy kept calling and kept complaining even after we made sure to cut his more carefully. After every delivery, he'd call and complain, and the manager would give him a 50% off code, mainly to get him off the phone. Every week we'd expect his call. Every week he'd call us like clockwork, bang on about how we wrecked the pizza last week, and insisted that someone else should double check that the pizza is cut straight, or he'd be complaining again. This went on for a couple of months. We found it pretty funny. It didn't really affect us, and he actually tipped the leftover change, which is moderately rare in Australia. Over the weeks, we really tried to make his pizzas as perfect as possible. One of the guys even made up a template on a pizza box with centering circles and perfectly aligned marks for where to cut. Nope, still not straight enough. Eventually, the franchise owner found out and said we can't keep giving him free vouchers, even though 50% off it was still very profitable. So we politely cut him off from the discount vouchers. But that just made the complaint calls longer, and he complained harder because he expected better for a full-priced pizza. One week, the manager thought it would be funny to mess with this guy and cut his pizza really messed up. I think we ended up with 9 vastly different sized slices. This just upset the customer even more. So much so that he took photos, the paper kind, and brought them into the store for the owner to see. Apparently, the owner thought it was funny, but he still warned the manager, saying, "Don't mess with this guy. Just cut the darn pizza straight so he stops complaining." Which is when I had my malicious compliance idea. Cut the pizza straight. Yes. When his pizza came out, I grabbed a tape measure and cut him 8 parallel, equal width slices. We discussed making them equal area, but couldn't work out the math. We boxed up his long, straight pizza fingers and sent them off for delivery, and that was that. He stopped complaining. Still ordered occasionally, though not as often. As a bonus, we started cutting our staffy pizzas into long parallel slices. It actually works pretty well. Karens are starting to travel again. I come in at 3 p.m. and my coworker explains how this super shiny tried to do an online check-in for another person using her account for the room. Her card declined, so she couldn't online check in. This woman spoke to a manager about it and hung up on him because she didn't get what she wanted, to check into a room without paying. About an hour later, the guy comes to check in. I explained the card declined and asked for another form of payment. He says he'll be right back. He asks how much it is and leaves. About an hour later, he comes back. "I couldn't figure it out with the other person on the reservation, so I'll just use my own card." Fine, no problem. The night goes on. I'm up and down several times delivering linens for pull-out couches. The phone rang off the hook a few times with people asking for availability. We're sold out all weekend. This man that I check in, I saw him several times and he never approached me. This is important. About 3 hours after that check-in, I get a call from the super shiny whose account it is. Right from the start, she's extremely rude and abrasive. "He checked into a dirty, filthy room that was not cleaned at all. This is unbelievable." Yada yada, so abrasive. Me: "Sorry, which room?" 209. I look at it. Me: "Oh, I'm sorry. I have seen him a few times and he never said anything." Her: "Well, it is." Me: "I'm sorry. Are you on property?" "It doesn't matter if I am or not. I demand compensation." Me: "I'm sorry. I'm just very confused. I've seen him walk by several times and he never said anything. That's worrisome." Her: "I need your manager." Me: "No one is in right now." "Well, when will one be?" "Tomorrow morning." "What time?" "By 10 he'll be in." "I'm going to call the super shiny desk about this. This is unbelievable and horrible service." Me: "Oh, well, if it is, then he can certainly say something so I can help." Her: "I'm getting my money back." At this point, a guest walks up while she's yelling at me. Me: "Ma'am, please hold on for one moment." "No, I will not hold. I am calling the brand and getting my money back." She hangs up. I have seen this man several times, at least 5 from when he checked in until right now. He has never approached me or called the desk to complain. This crazy is not even on property and is complaining. I called the room 3 times after that phone call and with no answer. I even saw him 2 more times and he never approached me. I wanted to call and ask how I could help them. If the room is that bad, you should say something. I can certainly move you if it's that bad. Also wanted to call for the dramatics because she was really upset. What the actual heck? "My husband is a doctor. I deserve to be seen now." Come here, you fine people, and listen to the story of another Karen in the emergency room. I worked the day shift today. In Germany, we work 5 8-hour shifts a week and have 2 days off. Not like the 12-hour shifts which our friends in the US are pulling. We have a 3-shift system: morning, day, and night. My day shift starts at 11:30 a.m. and ends at 8 p.m. regularly, but I work mostly overtime since lockdown. It was a really cool shift today. I worked with my work wife, my work boyfriend, and other nurses I'm cool with. So, yay. Patients were dripping in slowly. Nothing major. A broken leg, a bee sting, an allergic reaction, and a dog bite. Normal stuff. But then I felt a disturbance in the force. The room temperature dropped like 5 degrees downwards. All the dogs in a 3-mile radius started howling. Something unholy set foot in the hospital. A monster every service and retail worker fears. The mortal enemy of every manager. A mom bee. A middle-aged, middle to upper-class lady. A Karen with her kid. Like the Sith, there are always 2 of them. A master and a student. I sat at the front desk and did some desk work, scheduling some x-rays and MRIs, handling with some insurance IDs and so on. Clearing throat. "Excuse me?" The battle cry of the Karen. In front of me stood a middle-aged lady, fake pink nails, and clutching the wrist of her kid. The girl pressed a piece of paper on her forehead, probably bumped her head and maybe needed some stitches. Me. "How can I help you?" Karen. "My princess bumped her head. She needs help. She may have a concussion." Me. "How are you feeling, sweetie?" Kid. "I'm fine, but my head hurts." Me. Coming around the front counter. "Did she faint?" Karen. No. "Did she throw up?" "No." "Okay, sweetie, can I have a quick look at it?" She showed me her forehead. She had a laceration and probably needed some stitches. I then checked her eyes with a little light. I was sure she had not had a concussion. Me. "Okay, please fill out these forms and the next available doctor will look at your daughter." Karen. "What? My kid needs medical attention now. My husband is a surgeon here, so get going." Me. Massaging my nose in a very annoyed way. "Please fill out these forms and sit down and wait, miss. All our doctors are busy with patients right now." Karen. "Don't you listen, boy?" Boy? "Lady, I'm 24 years old." "My husband is a surgeon. He's on good terms with the management, so watch your mouth." Me. Looked her dead in the eyes. "Take the forms, fill them out, sit down, and the next doctor will have a look at your daughter's head." She probably noticed that I didn't take her crap. I'm working the ER since I finished nursing school. I developed really thick skin. I got yelled at, spit at, punched, and shoved, and got thrown at with stuff like cans. They waited maybe half an hour until the ER doctor could look at the kid. And what a surprise, no concussion. Just 3 stitches on the forehead. "And, does she have a concussion?" I asked with my best grin when she passed the front desk again. She just huffed and left the ER. And now the best part. Near the end of the shift, a surgeon came into the ER. He asked especially for me and apologized for his wife's behavior. He will tear her a new one when he gets home today. I told the doctor, "No problem. I've seen worse. Just talk to your wife and tell your kid I hope she gets well soon." The kid was quiet the whole time and was a really sweet kiddo. God, I hope she doesn't end up like her mother. I hope the Karens go out with the baby boomers like the dinosaurs did with the comet. School expelled me for mom's anger. We sued and caused a reform. So I have a really bad leg. I've had 13 surgeries, long story, and had just started at a new school. After the first 3 weeks, I had to go in for another procedure on my leg. Not that big a deal to me, I've been here before. Upon my return, I had documentation of my restrictions, as well as some special amenities that were required. The big 3 were that I needed extra time to get from class to class, must have someone escort me, and needed unrestricted access to the elevator. All of these got me recurring problems such as constant harassment by teachers and security about my being in the halls during class time. And why was my cousin out too? He was filling the role as my escort, as I have anxiety problems and we had the same classes. These first 2 were annoying, but easy enough to deal with. The real issue was the elevator, as I was told multiple times that for security issues, I couldn't have a personal key due to it sharing the same functionality with the interior door keys. I would never have had any issues with this, as I was told there would always be someone on the same floor as my classes to open the elevator for me. This, of course, was untrue about 75% of the time. The lack of elevator access meant that I was always stuck in the halls when other students were going class to class, and was constantly late due to having to wait for someone to come by and open the door for the elevator. This also meant that I would sometimes be stuck waiting through the entire lunch period, and due to my absences, couldn't afford to simply go to lunch after the fact. After about 3 weeks of this, I was tired of not getting to eat lunch. So I did one of the stupidest things I could have attempted and tried to use the stairs. For context, I was not on crutches. I was on a full-blown walker. About halfway down to the landing, I fell hard. As lunch was letting out, one of my friends found me, got someone to help pick me up, and carried me to the office. Another one of my friends went to find my other cousin. The one who normally escorted me wasn't there due to being sick, so I was without escort because I couldn't bear the thought of a stranger escorting me, who, when getting to the office, managed to get me to calm down enough to give them my mother's number. Now, my mother is quite hot-tempered, but can keep a level head normally. When she heard I fell, she was there in record time. When she got there, she immediately asked what happened. I told her I didn't want to miss lunch again, so I tried to use the stairs. Big mistake, as that really set her off. She immediately turned around and demanded for the principal and VP to get in here ASAP. As soon as the principal and VP walked in, she started going off on them in a fashion not suitable for most adults to hear, let alone kids. When the VP made an offhand remark about my condition, my mother was swarmed by local sheriffs that provided security for the school's entrances and office as she physically went after the VP. We were escorted out, and after looking at the file and realizing my cousin and I had the same address, they figured out that I didn't actually live there. Now, my grandmother's address was listed as she looked after me after I left school up until about 8 p.m. She also was raising my cousin after an issue between her and my aunt. They used this as grounds to expel me and told her I can be some other school's problem now. I was then enrolled at the school near my house and had to have yet another surgery to repair the damage that was done as a result of my fall and redo the work of the previous procedure. I had gotten multiple statements from teachers as well as my doctors, and my parents were moving forward with a lawsuit naming the VP, principal, as the county school board. We were contacted by a lawyer who had won multiple cases against our school board, some of which went to the state Supreme Court, and he told us that he would take our case pro bono. He was getting tired of going against the board and thought a case like this would be what it took to try and fix their crap. Fast forward 9 months, and I was walking out of court with a settlement to cover all my procedures, as well as a written confirmation that the school would be going through a complete administrative overhaul and that the principal and VP would be let go and have their administrative credentials revoked in our state. My new school was let know day one my medical requirements and my need for a personal elevator key by the superintendent and the head of the State Board of Education. Long story short, school majorly messed up with handling my medical requirements, resulting in a lawsuit that cost the head administrators their jobs, as well as a full-blown county-wide investigation of disability procedures. He said extra spicy, so I gave him extra spicy. This happened a few months ago to a friend of mine. A little background, my friend is mixed with white and Mexican with very pale skin. He usually gets mistaken as just a white male. His dad also owns a Mexican restaurant. To start, around 3 p.m., these guys walk into the restaurant. Friend was working the register and greeted them. They look at him with disgust and start speaking to each other in Spanish. They started going on and on about how he shouldn't even be working there and how he knows nothing about Mexican food. After they finished their rant, the following conversation went like this. Friend: Hi, welcome to our restaurant. Can I take your order? Guy 1: Yeah, we want to try your nuclear tacos challenge and make sure it's extra spicy. It's basically this challenge where you have to finish 3 spicy tacos in 5 minutes. Guy 2 in Spanish: He probably thinks extra spicy is ketchup. They laugh. Friend smiles and goes to the back to put in the order while handing each of these guys waivers and pointing them to a table. Cue the malicious compliance. Friend goes to the back to put in the order. Well guys, we have another one. Make sure it's extra spicy, he says with an evil smile. Friend grins from ear to ear while they make the tacos. He watches them put on the special sauce made specifically for rude people like this. He happily walks out of the kitchen and places the food on the table in front of them. Friend asks to take a video and before and after photo, which they happily agree to. Friend takes the before photo and sets up the camera in front of them, making sure it was connected to all of the TVs in the restaurant. Friend reads over the rules. No drinking anything before the time is up. Finish all 3 tacos, no giving away food, and prizes, a t-shirt with "I beat the nuclear challenge" on it, a photo on the winner's wall, and a free meal with their next visit. Friend goes over to the speaker and announces, "Listen up. Guy 1 and Guy 2 are attempting the nuclear challenge. Any words you'd like to say before we begin?" Guy 1, "This is gonna be a walk in the park." Guy 2,
Yeah, this doesn't even look like a challenge.
Friend, "Let the challenge begin." Friend starts the timer and smiles as the men start to struggle after the first bite. Guy 1 turned beet red, and Guy 2 looked like he was about to throw up. Both men tapped out before finishing the first taco. Friend comes over and takes their after picture. Guy 1, "Forget you. I want to speak to your manager. We know the owner. I can get you fired." Guy 2,
Yeah, no one can finish that. Are you trying to hurt us? Get your manager right now.
Friend goes to get his dad and brings him over to the men. Dad, "What seems to be the problem, sir?" Guy 1, "Your employee was trying to hurt us. I demand a refund." Dad, "I'm sorry to hear that. What did you order, sir?" Guy 2,
We ordered the nuclear taco challenge, and it really hurt us.
Dad, "I'm sorry, sir, but the waiver clearly states that we can't get sued and we don't have to reimburse you if something happens during the challenge." Guy 1, "We can and will sue you. I want to speak to the owner. We can get you fired." Dad, "I am the owner." Friend was watching from the register and could barely hold in his laughter. Both guys walked out while screaming at Friend and Dad. The fallout. They did try to sue, but nothing came from it. Surprisingly enough, more people were interested in the challenge after their performance. Friend makes sure to give everyone the actual sauce for the challenge. Me and Friend still laugh at the video to this day. What was the spiciest thing you've ever had? Please let us know. I once ate a whole habanero pepper. Never again. Am I the jerk for literally ignoring my mother when she popped by unannounced? My wife, 30 female, and I, 32 female, we're both women, are new parents to a baby. This is pretty big since just a few months ago we'd had our hearts broken. Saying as we never thought we'd have a baby so quickly, though we are 150% over the moon. We've also had a lot to learn as new parents. My wife's parents are perfect and amazing. They always help out, even if they only pop by for an hour. My mom, on the other hand, has a lot to say and butts in constantly. Pouts when we ask for the baby back, talks like the baby. "Mommy wants to take you away from Grandma, but I won't let her. Princess demands their grandma change her into their pretty outfit. Mommy put me in a boring one." I have no more patience for my mom's steamrolling, especially since she's barely acknowledged my nephews since the day baby came home. She even objects to her name and insists that we change it or call her by a nickname that she deems acceptable. My mom's behavior is nothing new to me, so I told her several times not to drop in without calling. If she's 5 minutes away or 30, it doesn't matter. I don't want guests dropping in to sit in my messy living room to play with a baby while ignoring my wife and I. That doesn't fly with me. On Sunday, we were going to my in-laws' house for brunch and time to relax. I told my mom 3 times when we spoke on the phone during the week that we weren't taking visitors this weekend and we had plans. Wife and I were getting ready to leave. She was with the baby when I brought the diaper bag and stuff to the car. Who pulled up when my wife came out? My mom. I was already frustrated, so I went right up to my wife, told her to pretend that she's not here and don't even look at her. Mom starts talking to me. "Where are you going and why? How long will you be gone?" And I walk past her. Wife put the baby in the car seat. My mom said she was doing it wrong. As soon as my wife is in the car, I look at my mom and ask why she didn't call. Mom insists she doesn't have to call when she was already down the street. I told her that's not how this works. My daughter is not a show pony, and I'm sick of her acting like she knows best while disrespecting my wife and I. Until she actually calls before she visits, we will not entertain her anymore. When we returned home, my mom was waiting for us in her car. I had a feeling that she'd do something like that. Wifey and I had agreed to just ignore her and walk right past her when she tried to follow us. It was a little rude of me, but I shut the door in her face. She called my cell over and over again, waiting to be let inside, but I just let it ring. Needless to say, I've been flooded with messages from relatives saying that I acted childish and cruel. How dare I keep my daughter away from her grandmother? The only people on our side are my sister and in-laws. So tell me, am I the jerk for ignoring my mom the way I did? Edit. Thanks for all the feedback so far. Post has only been up for an hour, and I feel vindicated. Wifey and I already decided to put my mom and several other relatives on timeout, especially since a lot of them showed no interest in our lives until we had a baby. Tells us all we need to know about their priorities. Once my mother is in a calmer headspace, I'm laying down the law with her. I want to be fair, but I have to be firmer with her too. Who do you think is the jerk? OP or her mom? Please let us know. We all have boundaries and they need to be respected. Better luck next time, Grams. A customer wanted her ice cream crunchy, so I made it crunchy. Briefly during the lockdown, I worked as a manager at a Ralph's, a New York City area ice cream chain. And one night, as I'm helping out scooping, I hear a customer getting annoyed at the window and started to get snappy with one of our youngsters who was working the window. So I head over to smooth the situation as manager. The woman is mad because the hot fudge on her hot fudge sundae is hot and going to melt the ice cream. I explain to her that the hot fudge is indeed served hot, but she insists, so I make her a new sundae with magic shell topping instead and let her keep the hot fudge one. By the time I return with that, this customer is stirring her spoon through another cup of ice cream, kind of like a sherbet she ordered, obviously about to complain about it. The flavor she ordered was called Graham Crunch, and she proceeded to tell me that there wasn't any Graham Crunch in it, that she ordered this flavor all the time and she knows that I am intentionally not making it crunchy for her. I tell her that this is just how the flavor is, and I don't name or make the ice cream, but she isn't having it. She wants me to fix it. We've got some crushed graham cracker topping in the back, so as she's yelling at me, I just walk away from her and grab the entire container and come back to the window with it. At this point, we've got a line of people down the block because this lady has held us up, so there's lots of witnesses to what I was about to do. Without breaking eye contact with her, as she continues to tell me that I'm wrong about the ice cream I scoop 6 days a week, I open the lid of the container and empty the entire thing over her cup of the offending ice cream. Graham crackers are everywhere. Her ice cream is now definitely crunchy. She loses her mind at this and starts yelling at me that she knows the owner and will get me fired. I tell her, yeah, Steve is a nice guy, and she responds with, I've known Steve a long time. To which I respond, well, his name is John. Get out of here and don't bother my employees for free ice cream again. Now sufficiently embarrassed in front of the long line of customers, the lady leaves in a huff and indeed never returns. The next few customers left us $20 tips in the jar to make up for her, so the kids who worked for me left with quite a bit more in their pockets than they normally would and realized that their manager had their back. Speaking of ice cream, what's your favorite flavor ice cream of all time? Please let us know. Cookies and cream all day, bruh. Am I the jerk for wanting to name my son after a video game character? My wife, 26, and I, 27 male, are both big gamers. We actually met through playing a game together online, and it's important to us. We're expecting a baby in October, and we couldn't be happier. This will be our first baby and the first grandchild on both sides of our families, so they're pretty excited to meet him too. Here's where the problem comes in. My wife and I were both greatly moved by the story of Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2. We consider him one of the best fictional characters of all time. I've been playing video games for a long time, and his story is the only one to ever make me cry. It was my wife who suggested that we use Arthur Morgan as the first and middle names for our son. Not only would we be paying tribute to our favorite character, but there's nothing wrong or weird about the names, other than Arthur is a little old-fashioned now. But it isn't as if we're naming him Sonic the Hedgehog or Donkey Kong. My mother had a brother who passed when I was about a year old, so I don't have any memories of him. She's been pressuring us to name our son after him. There's nothing wrong with his name either. It's pretty common. Think something like Robert John. It's just not what we wish to name our sprout. My older brother let slip to my mother that the name we chose was from a video game character, and she completely lost it. She actually drove 30 minutes to our house so she could bang on our door and yell at us in person for honoring someone who doesn't actually exist over her flesh and blood sibling. I understand that she still misses my uncle, but while this may be her grandchild, he's still first and foremost our son, and we already think of him as Arthur. That's going to be his name no matter how she feels about it. When we tried gently and then firmly to advise her that we respected her position but that we weren't going to budge on ours, she walked out and told us that she would have nothing to do with our son and would never acknowledge him as family. Am I the jerk for not making my mother happy and just giving her a freebie on this? I've actually always had a really good relationship with her, and it would hurt badly not to have her in my life or my son's life. My wife says that as parents, we are going to have to learn to advocate for ourselves because people are always going to be telling us that we've done something wrong and disagreeing with our parenting decisions. Well, what do you think OP should do? Should they give in to grandma's demands or not? Please let us know.
Absolutely not. If grandma's really going to act like that, they'll probably be better off without grandma and her shenanigans.
Your shirt is red. Get back to work and make my order now. All right, little bit of info. I work at a retail and gas station called Rhodes. You may have heard of it, you may have not. And my boyfriend works at Casey's, another gas station but in a different town. Some workers at Casey's wear red shirts. At my job, we also wear red. However, my shirt says Rhodes on it, so it should be clear, even after mistaking it at first, that I don't work at Casey's. I actually used to work at Casey's, so I know the ropes around the store. Here's the story. I'm at Casey's to pick up my boyfriend, and I walk in, to say hi and ask if it's been busy. I order some cheese sticks and walk out towards my car. A woman, maybe in her mid to late 30s, asks me,
What are you doing with that?
Now, me being two-faced only to customers or strangers, I tell her in a bubbly, bombastic voice that I'm just going to my car to eat. Now, I didn't think why in the world she would be asking me this as a stranger, but I still try to answer her in case she may have mistaken me for someone or something. With a really rude voice, she exclaims,
Get back in there. You're supposed to be making my cheese sticks.
Me, completely dumbfounded. Oh, I don't work here. My boyfriend does though. He's probably working on your order right now. I work at another gas station called Rhodes. As I point to my shirt where it says the name of my job. Lady.
No, I spoke to a girl. Her name was...
My real name.
That has to be you.
Now I had forgotten my name tag was still on, and there just so happens to be another girl with my same name who works at Casey's, who may have answered the phone in the kitchen taking orders. Me. No, sorry ma'am, I don't work here. There's another girl who works here with the same name as mine. You may have spoken with her.
No, because she sounded just like you. Same name, same voice.
Me. I honestly don't work here. Like I said, I work at Rhodes. It's a gas station where I live. As I point to my shirt once more aggressively. Now after this, my social battery starts to run out after a long day of having to fake a happy voice for people buying crap and trying to make conversation with me when I have better things to worry about. Lady.
Yeah, but your shirt is red, just like everyone else's here. You probably just grabbed a random red shirt and went into work like that. You probably don't wash your clothes since you smell bad too.
This is, in a sense, what set me off. I recently moved into a new apartment and haven't had time to do laundry except wash the shirt she was talking about. It gets hot at my job, so I sweat constantly and end up smelling. Me. I've told you multiple times I don't work here. Now leave me alone. Karen yelling at me as I walk to my car ignoring her.
I'm going to get you fired, you jerk.
I just give her a gesture and lock my car doors and turn my radio up so I don't have to hear any more of her crap. She eventually leaves with her cheese sticks. Honestly, I really get baffled at times that people are really this dumb or crazy. I'm only 19 and I ain't got time to listen to someone making assumptions or firing BS they know nothing about. First time I've had an encounter like this, and I hope it's the last. Changing shirts before I pick up my boyfriend from work from now on.
It's too bad OP didn't have one of our new I Don't Work Here Lady t-shirts. They could have just turned around and showed her the back. Available for a limited time. Link pinned in the comments below.
Am I the jerk for pulling the plug on music at a hangout? A buddy of mine had a few people over for beers recently. His speakers were busted, so he asked me if I could break mine out and put a playlist together. I sized up the crowd, which was a mix of people from late 20s to mid 40s, so I opened up my iPad and put together a playlist of modern music, 90s, 80s, and some classic rock. My friend is into gangster rap. I have a bit of that, but more of the mainstream stuff. As it was his party, I put a good amount in, sprinkled in between everything else. Well, Every time something came on that wasn't rap, he loudly talked over it.
Aw man, what is this crap? Nobody wants to hear this. Nobody's interested in listening to this. This is oldies. Turn this weak stuff off.
The rest of the crowd actually seemed to be enjoying it, but the host kept loudly talking over the music, grabbed the iPad and shouted,
Veto!
and skipped the song. He skipped the next 5 songs until he got to the next rap song. When that song ended and Hootie and the Blowfish came on, he shouted over it and skipped to the next rap song. I told him I had tried to put together a good mix that the crowd would enjoy, and he was blowing through everything that wasn't rap, which he was the only one who really enjoyed. He scoffed.
Nobody was listening to that stuff. They were totally ignoring it because it's lame.
I replied, the only reason nobody could listen to it is because you were making a scene and talking over it. When something else that wasn't rap came on, he made a joke to the crowd about my taste in music, told me I was fired, and that he was taking over as DJ. He hit pause on my iPad and started connecting his phone to the Bluetooth. I shut the speaker off, unplugged it, and started walking to my car. He asked what I thought I was doing. I said, "You fired me, so I guess I'm cleaning out my desk. Thanks for the opportunity." I got in my car and left. My friend says I ruined the party by storming off, and it was nothing personal. I told him he made it personal by putting me down in front of people for a laugh, and there was consequences to how he acted. Some people have told me that it was wrong of me to leave, as the gathering had no music at this point, and it wasn't about me since it was his house. Others have told me that they were actually enjoying the playlist and thought my friend was acting like a 4-year-old. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his gangsta rap friend? Please let us know.
I'd like to know why you're friends with this guy in the first place. He sounds utterly insufferable.
Am I the jerk for lecturing guests that they can't book under their nickname, which is not the same as their ID? I've gotten this too many times, and it gets to my head sometimes. I work at a hotel in Thailand, and here's the thing about Thai names. People's nicknames are very different than their real names. For example, in the West, somebody called Jefferson could have the nickname Jeff. However, in Thailand, the person's name could be Ying Luk, and their nickname is Poo. That's actually the name of the former prime minister, and Poo means crab in Thai. 98% of the time, guests spell their names correctly according to their ID card/passport. If it's a minor spelling error, which is quite obvious, I will check them in. One of the things is that when we receive the emails from the booking engines, they specifically say, please ask the guest for a valid form of identification to make sure that it matches the name on their reservation. If it is a typo, I would inform the guest and just ask them to reconfirm their name. This time I got a check-in with the name Jane, name changed. When I see the ID, it says Emanuela Jefferson, obviously name changed, and there was no such name in the system. I asked the lady to reconfirm what her reservation is under, and she says, I reserved it under Jane. She said the previous hotel had no problem finding a reservation. I calmly explained that I am not allowed to check her in without a matching valid form of ID. However, since I was the manager, I didn't want to ruin their day, so I asked for her booking confirmation to copy, and sure enough, on her phone it said Jane. I was so fed up of this happening because it happened before with a lady who put her nickname instead of her surname. Our system sorts by surname, so it was very difficult to find her reservation on a busy day. So I decided to give her a lecture. I did have a natural CS apology voice, so I used that. Ma'am, I will make an exception this time to allow you to check in using this name. However, when you are making the booking, the website asks for your first name and surname, which matches your valid ID, not your nickname. I'd like to warn you that some hotels may not give you the room because the reservation is under a different name, depending on their policy. Please do reserve the room under Emanuela Jefferson next time. I even showed her the message from Agoda, the website she booked through, asking us to match the name on the reservation to the ID. She was quite mad that I said this to her and said that it was pointless and I was being an unnecessary jerk. When she goes to a hotel that has a stricter policy, she'll probably get it. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Karen demands my college fund. I, 19 female, have an aunt, Amy, who's 38, who I love and she loves me dearly. It's never been explicitly stated, but between my sister, Kim, who's 17, and myself, I'm the favorite niece. I didn't really notice until I was around my early teens, but whenever I had an event, my aunt would always try to be there, while she was never there for anything my sister did. I got nicer presents, and there are pictures of me in her house, and she texts and calls me regularly. She barely acknowledges my sister, and I never knew why. One of the reasons why it took so long for me to notice was because whenever someone would mention something about the different treatment, our mom would just brush it off, and since Amy was my paternal aunt, I just accepted it. Fast forward to now, and my mom sat me down and asked me if I would be willing to go to a less expensive school so I could have extra money to share with Kim. Aunt Amy set up a fund for me and my 2 cousins, but didn't have a dime for Kim. She did this with Kim looking at me for an answer and got upset that I didn't give a definite yes. She accused me of not caring about her, just like Aunt Amy, and is refusing to speak to me until I give her half of the money. I thought that this was wildly unfair and asked my parents why they didn't have their own fund for Kim since Aunt Amy was taking care of me. They said that they did, but it wasn't as much as what Aunt Amy had for me. She's a smart woman who makes a lot of money and admitted that they had to dip into it to help pay for things when my dad wasn't working because of lockdown. I feel bad for Kim, but I don't want to sacrifice my future college experience for it. Am I really being so maliciously selfish? ETA. Hey everyone, sorry I haven't been responding. I had to run out and do some errands, but I wanted to address some questions and comments. 1. Growing up, I did notice that Aunt Amy had a bigger presence in my life, and she always had some excuse for not being in Kim's. Example, I have to work, I have prior commitments that I can't back out of, I'm sick, etc. 2. Yes, growing up, I do recall that every now and then, me, my cousins, or sister would ask why Aunt Amy treated 3/4 of us differently, and the adults would act like we were being ridiculous or just brush it off. I always took this as us, kids, just making stuff up, and would trust that my parents, uncle, uncle's wife, or my paternal grandparents would step in and do something about it. Now that I'm older and starting to look back on things, I can now get a better understanding that it was indeed favoritism. 3. No, it has never crossed my mind that I may be my aunt's secret daughter. It also wouldn't explain why she spends time with me and my cousins, but leaves out Kim. If all of the attention was just on me, I'd be more inclined to believe it. But for now, no. 4. I'm not going to rule it out 100%, but I'm going to say no to Kim and me having different dads. I'm older than her, and my parents were already married when I was born. I don't believe that Kim is an affair baby because it doesn't explain why only my aunt treats her differently. If my entire paternal side treated Kim differently, I would feel more inclined to believe it. 5. In regards to the fund itself, I've never actually seen it, but I know it's there because my aunt says it's there, and my twin cousins are already in college using it. I'm not too sure about the rules of the fund because I just trust my aunt, but I will look into it. 6. I'm not saying that I'm unwilling to share any of the money, I just don't want to give up half because I really want to go to my school of choice, which is out of state and will be more expensive. 7. One of the main reasons why I was so reluctant was because I felt put on the spot and was being cornered and pressured for an answer, which I resent. ETA 2. Even though I was out running errands, I've given it a lot of thought and think having a sit down with the adults in my life to figure this out may be what's best. What would you do in this situation? Would you share your college fund with your sister or not? Please let us know. Tell Aunt Amy I'm trying to go to college too. Where's Karen's fund? Guest lies about bedbugs before revealing her true complaint. So I checked this older lady in 2 weeks ago, and it was a prolonged check-in to say the least. I came in at 3 p.m. and she arrived shortly after. She looked in distress when she came in and said she's been homeless for several days because her house burned down, and she asked if we had a room available, and we did. I quoted her the rate, and she said I didn't understand her. Her house had burned down, and she has nowhere to sleep because she's been homeless for several days. I understand what she's saying, and I tell her while we do have rooms ready and available, I cannot rent them out for free. She just shook her head for a while, and she picked up her phone and called her pastor. I could hear some of her conversation through the night window, and I think she mentioned something about being in a hotel for 3 days, and now she's homeless again. I used to work at a hotel that had a contract with the Red Cross, and people would come in if they had lost their home or something else like that had happened with an agent and fill out a form, and they'd get 3 days. So maybe that's what she was trying to say. She comes back to the window and hands me the phone, and her pastor says he'll put up for 1 night and he'll assemble the deacons to see if they can put her up for longer. I explained to her what I was told and that the pastor would be here in half an hour or so. She walked back to her vehicle, which she parked right in front of the office window, and she sat in her seat and reclined it with a very distressed look. The pastor shows up, and she waits for him to approach her car, and she begins to talk to him with an even more distressed look and begins to cry, etc. I imagine she was telling him the whole story, so I waited, and the pastor was very patient, and they both came back in about 15 minutes later. She has a walker now. She didn't have one before. And the pastor tells me the game plan again, and I check her in and finish that process, and he escorts her to her room and unloads her stuff for her. He seemed like a really nice guy, and while I did feel for the older woman, I couldn't give her a free room. That was my Friday, so I didn't know if the deacons decided to keep her here or not. So I come back a few days later, and lo, the deacons have decided to not only put her up for a week, but gave explicit instructions to continue charging their card on file every week until we get further instructions from them. I've always wondered about their church because I pass them every day I come to work, and while it's a Christian church, they have a picture that looks like a Buddha, and they have the word fellowship in their name, so I kind of get some interesting vibes. But from what I can tell, they're nice people. The only time I interacted with her during the first week was when she called to get her checkout date, at which time I explained to her what the deacons instructed us to do for her and told her she only needed to come to the desk weekly for her keys to be reprogrammed. I've seen her walking about, driving off, etc. These last 2 weeks, and not once with a walker, and no one has heard any complaints from her about bed bugs until today. She will be Bug Lady. The phone rings. Me. Front desk, how may I help you? Bug Lady.
Yes, I'm in room this number, and I spoke to a guy earlier.
The previous shift was my GM, a middle-aged lady, so a lie.
Who said he would move me to a ground floor handicap accessible room with a tub and with a door parking.
Lie.
When can I move?
This was well past 3 p.m., and if we're going to move anyone, we try to do it before 12 p.m., so housekeeping can clean the room. Also, we had one room with everything she specified, and that room was reserved, and the reservation was made days ago, and my GM certainly wouldn't have offered her that room as it was already booked. So another lie. Me. I'm sorry, ma'am. I do not have a room available with those specifications. However, I do have standard double rooms on the second floor I can upgrade you to at no additional charge. Bug Lady.
I told the previous guy.
Lie.
I needed to move immediately because this room is full of bed bugs.
Highly suspicious, probably a lie.
And I'm bitten up all over my arms and legs.
Soon to be a confirmed lie. Me. I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am. What time did you speak to the clerk?
This morning, before I went to church.
If she had indeed spoken with the person about a room move that early, they certainly would have processed it ASAP, especially for that reason, because we are always keen on checking rooms for bed bugs and dealing with that pronto because that's a real business destroyer. I've gotten around 15 or so claims of bed bugs since I've been here at this property, and not once have we found any. Me. Ma'am, as I said before, while I do have standard rooms available now that I can move you to, they are all on the second floor. All of our ground floor rooms are taken this evening. Bug Lady.
Okay, let me try and figure this out.
Click. So I call my GM and ask her about it, and she confirms that she did not speak with the Bug Lady, nor did she promise her a room move. She told me to contact Bug Lady in half an hour if she didn't contact us by then and make sure she won't accept a second floor room. She also told me to inspect the room if she does accept the room move. It's nearly a half hour later, so I'm getting ready to head to Ladybug's room, but she walks into the lobby before I leave. Surprise, with a walker. Ladybug.
So, can I move into the room I asked about now?
Me. I'm sorry, ma'am, but as I said before, we do not have any rooms with those specifications. I do have standard rooms available on the second floor, which I can gladly move you into now. Ladybug.
Well, that's not going to work. I have health issues.
Me. I understand, ma'am. However, that's all we physically have available at this time. All of our ground floor rooms are currently rented out. Ladybug grumbles for a bit.
How about tomorrow? Can I move then?
Me. Yes, I can block a room tomorrow with those specifications. However, if you intend to stay and refuse a room on the second floor, you will have to stay in your current room tonight.
What about the bed bugs? I can't stand it. I'm itching everywhere and bitten up.
As she walked to the window, I noticed she did not have bedbug bites anywhere on her arms that I could see. I know what bedbug bites look like. I myself have been bitten up by them, and her arms looked perfectly fine.
I repeat what I've told her like 6 times already, and she relents and agrees to stay in her current room for the night despite her agony.
Can I get a receipt for the room?
As the card isn't under her name, I cannot give her a receipt, which not surprisingly she complains about and offers me new lies.
No, I paid for the room. It was taken out of my bank.
Me. I'm sorry, ma'am. The only card information I have on file belongs to your church, so you will need to request a copy of the receipt from them. Alternatively, they can authorize us in writing to release the receipts to you, but you will have to contact them yourself and make that arrangement. Cleverly, she asks us what our weekly rates are for her room type to get that information without getting a receipt, which I give her because that's not private information. She then gets to her real complaint. Ladybug's mouth drops open.
You're charging me that much a week? And no one has been in to clean my room for 2 weeks now? That's not fair. You guys are,
she shakes her walker,
ripping me off. My room is dirty. Why hasn't anyone been by to clean it yet?
I'm getting pretty annoyed at this point, and our housekeeping are not cleaning stayover rooms for the most obvious reason in the world. We do have an abundant supply of fresh towels, sheets, linens, etc., as well as a plentiful supply of cleaning solutions and brooms and Swiffer mops. While I did check her in for one night and not for the week stay, we are trained to clearly explain that housekeeping will not enter stayover rooms, but we have cleaning supplies and fresh linens at the desk. Most people understand that it's because of lockdown, and not only for our guest safety, but for our staff as well. Me. Ma'am, as I said, you are not paying for your room. Your church is. Housekeeping will not enter stayover rooms per our lockdown policies, which was clearly explained to you when you checked in. By completing the check-in process, you agreed to our policies. I have fresh linens and cleaning supplies that I can bring to your room, or you can move to a different room, as I've explained to you multiple times. She just glared at me for a bit, walked out without saying a word. This was around 6 p.m., and it's almost time for me to clock out, so I guess we'll see where that goes. In my experience, people toss around bed bugs as a go-to for a bevy of refund or a discount strategy. It's cliche, and it's usually a lie, and it was in this case. Apparently, Ladybug hasn't cleaned her room in weeks. I shudder at the thought of what housekeeping will find tomorrow. I don't suspect they'll find any bed bugs though. Update. So the day after Ladybug complained to me, she spoke to my manager around 7:30 a.m. who set her up in her ultra-specific room type for the following day, yesterday, and was told to come to the desk before 11 a.m. so that we can move her. This is standard, and we do not deviate from this policy because it gives housekeeping time to clean the room. Considering we've been selling out like crazy, and the last week she was clearly told that if she wasn't down by 11 a.m., we could not move her. In truth, we held it until 1 p.m. before we sold it. Those rooms have the best parking and go early. So I get on shift at 3 p.m. and go about my business checking people in, doing laundry, etc. And around 5:30 p.m., in walks Ladybug. She glares at me sideways.
Your manager said she saved a room for me. Can I move in it now?
Me, groaning. Hello, ma'am. My manager did update me on your situation, and unfortunately, that room is no longer available, as was explained to you. We asked you to come to the desk before 11 a.m. for the room move, and we did hold it until 1 p.m., at which point we released the reservation to sell the room. Ladybug.
Your manager made a reservation for today. Here's my confirmation number.
Holds up the confirmation printout with, please come into office by 11 a.m. for room move. The awesome manager. Boldly written on the page and circled. So we go in circles, and she keeps lying, saying she was told she could come in after 3 p.m. I pointed out the manager's note on the printout, and she acted like it was the first time she had seen it. Eventually, she declined to remain in her room for the night, but asked me to make a reservation for her the following day, today, for her specific room type, which I did, and printed out a confirmation letter and wrote the same instructions about 11 a.m., and I had her sign it this time. When I got on, my manager said she made a big deal about bed bugs and showed her the evidence. It was a small rash, about 1.5 inches wide and about 2 inches tall, and was certainly not bed bugs. She thought it might be irritation from medicine or something else. We recently switched our laundry providers and have had the new detergent for a few weeks, but have gotten no complaints about skin irritation, so she didn't think that was it. So I come in today expecting to hear a story about her move, but turns out she told her church we're rude to her and don't care that she's been in agony with bed bugs for weeks and that no one has been by to clean her room despite her pleas.
She is so confused by why we're punishing her for her simple request she's been so patient with us about, etc. More lies, of course. She also said she doesn't trust the staff and doesn't want us in the room, and requested to get some volunteers from the church to help her pack her vehicle and apparently clean her mess. I walked by out of curiosity, and the window was cracked open, and I gagged under my mask and nearly threw up. It smelled like strong medical creams, powder deodorant, and spoiled food. There were 3 full 55-gallon trash bags outside her door, and they were loading up another. Her bed was full of junk. Not sure if she slept in that, but that might explain her rash. That was a few hours ago, and I'm sure Ladybug ordered her minions to find bed bugs, and since no one has come up and she hasn't phoned, I'm assuming there are no bugs of any kind. It seems to me she's one of those people that are used to getting what they ask for and have no problem behaving unethically to get what they want, including lying about lowly service people. We certainly weren't ignoring her requests nor punishing her. We tried to accommodate her requests despite her BS behavior. My general manager spent an hour on the phone with the church, reassuring them that she wasn't being mistreated and was far more diplomatic than I would have been. She's just glad she's gone tomorrow and doesn't want to deal with her anymore. I genuinely feel bad for the next property that will cater to Her Majesty the Ladybug, and hopefully she gets a new home soon so she can stay there. Police officer attempted to intimidate my patient, loses fight to physics. I'm a paramedic. A few days ago, we're coming back from a routine patient transfer when at an intersection about 4 blocks from the base, I notice a woman sitting on the side of the road with her arms wrapped around herself and her head down. I nudge my partner who's driving, and we flip on the lights, and I see her head come up real fast, and she looks terrified. I get out and she relaxes when she sees the ambulance. After I approach, I notice bruising. She seems hesitant to get up off the curb and into the ambulance, so I decided that I would at least pull the cot out of the back and give her something a little more comfortable than concrete to sit on. Now a few important details. All the cots in my service are striker-powered cots. You've almost certainly seen them before. They're bright yellow with black handles and side panels. These cots have a motor and battery built in to allow them to be raised and lowered at the touch of a button instead of throwing out our backs having to physically lift the cot up after loading someone. They're usually paired with an automatic loading system built into the ambulance that lifts the cot up to the right height to be pushed inside and also secures the cot when loaded. There's a little red tab at the end of the track just inside the doors that you press down to free the cot and allow it to slide out. When you press this tab, it simply releases the cot, and it's up to you to keep it under control until it reaches the unload position and locks into place again. This can be problematic because these cots weigh about 125 pounds, about 55 kilograms. As soon as I hit the release tab for the cot, I hear lights and sirens behind me. It's a city police car, which is weird because we had not yet requested the police, and we were outside the city in the sheriff's department jurisdiction. We merely informed dispatch that we were stopping to check on a lady at such and such intersection. This lady says something along the lines of, "Oh God, he's here," and moves faster than me, seeing free food distributed at base. She dashes past me and pretty much hurls herself into the ambulance, sitting on the bench seat. The cop is approaching, and he's mad. I put 2 and 2 together and slam the ambulance doors shut. Let's call this officer Police Officer Steve, or POS for short. Steve.
Is that jerk? Is she in there?
Me. Who? Steve.
You know darn well who I'm talking about.
Me. You mean my patient? I'm afraid I haven't gotten a name yet. Steve.
Open those doors. I need to talk to her.
Me. You're not using my rig as an interview room. You can talk to her at the hospital. We go back and forth like this for a few minutes. My partner at some point came back to see what the holdup was, but overheard my stonewalling and went back to the cab to call our chief. I continue my routine of deny and delay until a pair of deputies, likely specifically requested for this by the chief, arrive. Oh, good. Now I have witnesses. See, we had stopped on an upwards incline. I had hit the release tab on the cot and it wanted to slide back. I had to close the doors so swiftly, I didn't bother pushing the cot back against the stops and locking it in place. Emboldened by the presence of the 2 deputies, he gets in my face.
Get out of my way, or I'm gonna have to charge you with obstruction.
Okay. I step out of his way, and he opens the double doors. Between the cot, the monitor, and the jump bag, I'd say there was probably close to 160 pounds contained by those doors, all of which comes barreling out and hits Steve square in the chest. He goes backwards and falls on his butt. One of the deputies laughs aloud. The other walks up and kneels down beside the guy. He says, "Your shift captain is going to be here in 5. I wouldn't be here if I were you." Steve gathers himself up and scowls at me, then stomps off. There's a limited amount that I can say about the aftermath, as the trial is not settled yet. But we all know how well charges stick to cops. The woman is now living elsewhere, the cop is still a cop, and I've been getting pulled over at least twice a week ever since then. But the video footage of him getting body checked by that cod remains one of the best things I have seen. Edit for clarification. Yes, the woman was/is married to Steve, and yes, he was the one responsible for this. Guy orders a bunch, then cancels most of it, wants to keep the discounts. Several years ago, I was the manager of one location for a national furniture retailer. We had people come in all the time for our sales and deals. We were always running one. As the manager, I also had the ability to take off a little bit extra. Depending on the items, I might even take an additional 25% off after the sale price. Way more if the item was something other than furniture. It was not possible on everything, but I knew my leeway and when to use it. The other thing we offered up all the time was to remove the delivery charge. So this man came in one day and is working with one of my employees. He's looking for a sofa and maybe some end tables. He picks out a nice sofa, and after the sale, it's about $4,000. End tables are another few hundred. Then he talks about how great our sale is. Apparently, my employee tells him if he buys more, we might get him a better deal. This sofa is something I did not have the ability to discount any further, as it was a loss leader and being sold well below what it could have sold for. So this guy decides to go all out and get a new bed, kitchen table and chairs, and a few other things. He's well over $10,000 at this point. So employee sits down to ring him up and calls me over to ask about additional discounts, and I let the guy know we have a great sale and he's already getting a great discount, but I'll waive the delivery fee. He asks for a bit more, and I give him an extra 10%. It's all a negotiation. After the 10%, he says if we can take off a bit more, he will be able to afford a few more things. He mentions some pretty expensive stuff along with lamps and artwork. So we figure it in, and he gets free delivery plus 20% off. He's out the door, scheduled delivery for 3 weeks out, and puts it all on our store credit card. Best day the employee has had in a long time. A week goes by and the guy calls to cancel the artwork and the lamps. It's not that strange for items to get canceled. They're mostly overpriced in furniture stores anyways. I take care of it for him. Since he used the store's credit card, he has paid us nothing. He will not be charged until 6 months after delivery. Another week goes by and he has called us twice more to pare down the order, but the other manager was on duty and is new to the job. We are a few days from delivery and the guy calls up to cancel everything but the sofa end tables on his order. It sucks for the sales guy, but it happens and he handles it well enough. I buy him lunch. On the phone, I tell the customer I would be happy to cancel the items he requested and I would still give him the free delivery. Never did he ask for an updated price. 6 months go by and he finally looks at his bill. I'm the one that gets the call. It's just screaming from the start. He calls me a cheat and a liar and demands his money back. He also mentions that for all the stress this is causing him, he should refund it all. I know exactly who this is and why they are calling, but I ask him to explain it to me and play dumb a bit. This guy tells me how he canceled much of his order, but he didn't get the discounts he was promised. He was being charged $4,500, but since he got 20% off, it should have only been $3,600, and he wants his $900 plus more for messing up his credit score. Still playing a bit dumb, as if a light bulb is slowly warming up in my skull, I ask him to explain to me why he canceled all the other stuff. He then details how his plan all along was to rack up a huge bill and cancel it all, keeping the discounts. Now I drop the dumb act and lay it all out for him. Sir, I see the old order, and I'm the manager that was helping you that day. It appears as if there was never any discounts on the sofa or end tables, but you did cancel several items that were highly discounted. I wanted discounts on the sofa. I was promised 20% off my order. You need to credit my account. As a total, you did get 20%, but not equally on each item. Then he went full diva on me. With as much as I spent, I deserve that discount. And if you don't give it to me, I will load up everything I got and drop it in your parking lot. And fighting back a laugh, I had the privilege of telling him, correction, with what you were going to spend, you could have gotten that discount. With what you did spend, I was happy to extend free delivery to you. Additionally, you may return items within our 60-day return window, but your items were delivered well over 100 days ago. You can feel free to drop them anywhere, but you may be charged with littering. He ended the call after a stunned silence. He never called my store again. Karen loses it at Build-A-Bear. A while ago, I posted a story about my first Karen encounter at Build-A-Bear. For those of you who have never seen or been to a Build-A-Bear, it's the most awesome store in any mall. You pick out an unstuffed friend, fill it up, add extras like a scent or a sound, pick out clothing, name it, and take it home. Now, Build-A-Bear has a ton of licensed products, including The Nightmare Before Christmas. Every year around Halloween, people ask us if we have Jack Skellington or Sally because those are the two bears that get sent to stores. Another thing to note, since lockdown, inventory for our store and all the stores has been weird. Normally, we'd get a truck every single week, but with what's been going on, our schedule has been spotty. Now, when we get our Nightmare Before Christmas items, I notice something. I can't find Sally's dress. In fact, none of us can. Then we realize they didn't send us any of Sally's dresses. We call other stores, the same thing. No one in our area has Sally's dress. This isn't usually an issue because kids will dress up their bears in whatever. One kid got a bright pink unicorn and dressed it up as Darth Vader, so Sally doesn't have to have her dress. Well, according to Karen, she had to. It's the weekend, so we were fairly busy. This family comes in with a mom, 2 grandmas, and 2 kids. As usual, I think everything is fine until the girl wants Sally. My coworker, we'll call her Ava, is helping them when Karen asks about Sally's dress. Ava explains to her that we don't have Sally's dress in stock, nor do any of the other stores have it. And that is when Karen went from polite to just plain rude. Karen asks Ava why we don't have the dress, and again, Ava explains. Karen still doesn't understand why we didn't have the dress and starts demanding we try to get it for her. Ava, bless her soul, brings Karen over to the computer to show her why we can't just buy the dress. I'm on stuffing duty, and one of the kids, a boy who I'll call Thing 1, wants Jack. Again, I think the kid is fine until I realize he doesn't understand the concept of staying in line or going in order. To keep things simple, Build-A-Bear has an order. You pick out your friend, we ask if you want a sound, then you stuff. The reason for this is that the sound has to go into the bear before we stuff him. Now, I do remember one of my coworkers asking Thing 1 if he wanted a sound. The sound wasn't in the bear, so I assumed his parents said no. But then he mentions he wants a sound, so I have to get up, get Jack's sound, and then start again. While I'm doing this, the kid is running back and forth to his mom. This kid is like 6 or 7. He should know better than to run in a store, but whatever. Jack is stuffed, so I give it to the boy to hug. Then I tell him about the hearts. All friends get a felt heart, but you can get special hearts that beat like a real one. Thing 1 squeezes the special heart and says he wants that one. He begs the 2 grandmas and then runs over to his mom again. Now, had he been the only customer in the store, it'd be fine, but we have a fairly big line, and he was making the process longer. Thankfully, Thing 1 comes back, and Karen vetoed the heart, so I finish up the bear. Story over, right? Nope. Karen is furious that we don't have Sally's dress. Keep in mind, Ava has explained to her many times that we cannot order the dress because it's part of the bundle. Karen apparently doesn't care. For the rest of her visit, she keeps making snide comments about the dress. Why don't they have it? It shouldn't be that hard. I wish this store had the dress. Blah, blah, blah. Then, when she comes over with her daughter, Thing 2, they hold up the line even more because they did the same thing Thing 1 did with the sound. And once again, Karen keeps making snide comments about the dress, saying how ridiculous it is that we don't have the dress. Not only was she making these comments, but she didn't smile once as I performed the heart ceremony and continued to talk about the dress throughout the store. When she left, we said, "Have a good day." She replied with, "I doubt it." Karen, please never come back to my Build-A-Bear, and I kinda hope you never find Sally's dress.
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.